Hey, y'all. Sorry, I was late. Kenzie had my chair, so she just got done dyeing her hair. I had the giggles so bad. I was on the phone with Revival. I had the giggles so bad because Kenzie comes out and the black she got to dye her hair this time turned her eyebrows purple. So she was like, Mom. Anyways, poor Kens. I shouldn't laugh, but it was quite funny. Hey, Revival. Hey, Bo. Hey, CCK, Zoya, T. Marie. You guys, we're here going to talk about the 5th lawsuit. There's been 5. I have a spot on my glasses. There has been 5 now that have been filed on Ballard and O.U.R. And this one, let's just say, hold on, I got to buy it right quick. Oh, here's my buddy. I don't have to buy it, but somebody already posted it. But I prefer to buy them myself because then I have them, all of it, for us to read. Give me 1 second. Let me let Keke needs to come in. You guys, we have I am overwhelmed with content to get through, but we are going to do all of it. We're going to get through all of it here shortly. Okay, so we want to purchase this one. Give me 1 second while I purchase this stuff. Hi, Bubba. 27. Hold on. Dexter. 28. This is going to be the longest lawsuit that we've gone through. Come on. Sis, will you give Dex treats, please? This is a lot of information. And this is in my opinion, well, the ones with the sexual assault allegations are bad, but this is if this doesn't open some people's eyes to what's going on here, I don't know if I have any hope left. Okay. So we got all of that downloaded. Okay. We got everything bought that we need to buy. Hey, Lurker. Hey, Perry, Marcy, Stonefly Blue, CCK. Keke says we got to have some snuggles and kisses right quick. All right. Let's get going. Let's go ahead and talk about this 5th lawsuit. By the way, for those of you that have been following the Ballard content, you're going to get a little bit of it this week because we've got this lawsuit to talk about, but we also get to talk about Ballard's attempt to re-victimize his victims by using a YouTube channel and somebody that helped them do the trailer for The Sound of Freedom have now determined that they're going to help smear the victims of Ballard's by posting stuff online. Meanwhile, all it is a grift. Ballard is claiming that he needs legal defense because he's almost bankrupt. What happened to the $14 million when you parted with Spearfund? 2022, you took over $500,000 for your own salary from O.U.R. And you want us to think you're bankrupt and pay for your legal defenses? That's what they're doing. So we will be going through that and debunking the untold story of Tim Ballard. We will be talking about the victims' voices and what they're attempting to do. Let's get going.
I'm no angel.
we've got so much to talk about. I'm overwhelmed. We're going to continue doing Am's story. We've got another horrifying story to include, and I will be working directly with that victim this week and deciding how we want to go about helping with that case. I so thank you guys once again for all of the emails. I know that so far I have sent 7 personally already. I've made daily TikToks. I will be continuing to do YouTube videos, daily TikToks. I will be just trying everything, sharing them on Twitter, all of the things to try and help Amethyst and other victims however we can. We're going to continue that, but we're going to be talking about Ballard, the connections with all of this, because they are absolutely trying to smear the victims and it's disgusting. But we also are going to segue because we also have another pastor who it's coming around again. It happened last summer, but he has made some egregious comments that need to be highlighted once again about our victims himself that are absolutely disturbing. So we'll be talking a little bit about him. I already made my thumbnail on that. We've got a lot to get through. And I need a clone. Unfortunately, that sounds scary, but I really do need a clone to come like work. I just need somebody to tell like, hey, I want this laid out, this. All of these ideas go, but I just need the time to be able to put them on camera and do all this stuff, because I tell you what, people just continue on. Hey, Beer Can. Ooh, I hope you're having a good time grilling. Hey, Sharon. Wood Drake. Good to see you. Okay. Oh, beat him. Elon's got connections to Ballard and Sean Reyes. They were supposed to be having a meeting, so maybe they would plug me in there. Maybe. And I have been watching the documentary on the Raelians. If anybody hasn't seen that stuff, another cult that they believe in aliens. And it's a lot to kind of understand, but they have a scientist that works with them who wanted to attempt to start cloning people. Maybe I should do content on them and ask if she wants to clone me. Maybe that would work. Just joking. Anyways, let's get into this. Let's get into this BS. All right. For those of you that still want to say Sound of Freedom is such an incredible movie, this is probably the slap in the face that you're not going to want to see. So this is the fifth, all different lawsuit that has been filed in civil court, the 3rd District Court of Salt Lake County, against Tim Ballard, Catherine Ballard. And by the way, Catherine, you might want to just sit your ass down, because watching her stick up for old Timmy boy is really disappointing and disheartening, but there's that. Hey, Pika, this is the 5th lawsuit filed against these people. But I want you to take real big notice of who the plaintiffs are. Kelly, I'm gonna have a hard time because they're Hispanic names and I cannot speak Spanish whatsoever, so I'm not going to roll the R's. Johanna Suarez Moya, an individual, and Luz Miriam Moya Solano. Those are the plaintiffs. And if those names aren't familiar to you, you're going to understand real fast into this who these people are and why this is a big deal. For those of you that don't know, she is a beauty queen. And if you think back to the Sound of Freedom, one of the things in the Sound of Freedom and one of O.U.R's sticking points has been that this beauty queen was using her position as a trafficker. That has been stated no less than at least 100 times that I've heard it myself out of all of that organization and people associated with. They always say that this is one of their big busts. Well, let's get into why they're filing against O.U.R, Tim Ballard, Catherine Ballard, Angel Studios, ding, 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 Sound of Freedom as itself. And they turned it into a limited liability company. Did you know that? Vast Portal LLC, Harmon Brothers Marketing, the Spear Fund, Rod Bear, Alejandro Monteverde, and Janet Roussan. Okay, let's talk about what this is. Both Colombia and the United States of America have constitutional provisions that provide the person that has a presumption of innocence until proven guilty. This is a case of a young Colombian woman who was tragically condemned by the defendants to the entire world as being a child trafficker without any due process or due diligence by the defendants. Plaintiffs, by and through their counsel, hereby complain against defendants and allege as follows. Buckle up, because this is one of the trafficking suspects that they touted to the entire world was this trafficker, the female trafficker. If you have heard any of their speeches, pay close attention because you're about to get mind blown. Hey, babe. Hey. We're getting into this lawsuit. All right, Kyle just got home. Plaintiff, we're just going to call her Kelly. I hate even butchering her name. I cannot say it properly. Is a female adult citizen and a resident of Colombia. Plaintiff Luis is probably. Rabbit, I need your speaking abilities. Miriam Moya Solano is a female adult citizen and resident of Colombia and mother of plaintiff. Defendant Timothy Ballard, we all know, resident of the state of Utah. We're not going to go through each and every one of them, but you can see them all listed here. Again, I will put this in a Google Drive for my members so you can look through and read through all of this and the exhibits that go with it. I will attach those too. So the venue is properly laid before the 3rd Judicial District Court and in 4 Salt Lake County, state of Utah. Removal to the federal court is improper in this matter, given that most of the defendants are residents or based in the state of Utah. Pursuant to Utah rules of civil procedure, the amount in controversy exceeds over $300,000, qualifying this claim for Tier 3 discovery. Factual allegations. All right. Hey, everybody coming in. Good to see you all. Timothy Ballard is an American activist, speaker, and author. Ballard portrays himself as a religious family man. Ballard founded the nonprofit organization Operation Underground Railroad in 2013 that claims to lead the fight against human trafficking and sexual exploitation worldwide. Side note, right quick, this is not in the documents. This is me. Nothing to do with the lawsuit. But one of the best things that happened yesterday was Tim Ballard was a keynote speaker for CPAC and didn't even get 10 minutes of speaking time. It was amazing. Just so you guys have an that looks really funny with my glasses on my head. That was quite incredible, except I sat through 2 hours leading up to him being completely silenced, basically, and listened to some of the most torturous speeches I've ever heard. But that's a whole story for another day. CPAC is quite miserable if you have never listened to it. Okay. Anyways. Back to the documents. Founding myth of O.U.R. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Mark Twain. 21. A founding myth is the narrative that explains how a particular reality came into existence in order to justify the established order by attributing its establishment to sacred forces. Defendant Timothy Ballard is a master at developing founding myths, having authored the Covenant, the Lincoln Hypothesis, the Washington Hypothesis, the Pilgrim Hypothesis, and other quasi-historical narratives that fit his worldview and his importance in it. Remember now, Tim Ballard is quite known as the modern-day Harriet Tubman, which is complete and utter bullshit. Okay, just making sure everybody knows who we're talking about here. The founding myth of O.U.R. was a sting operation conducted in Cartagena, I'm going to butcher all of this, Colombia in 2013, entitled Operation Triple Take. We've heard about these Colombian raids for quite some time. As a part of this operation, defendant O.U.R. through Ballard worked with the United States and Colombian governments to hold a pedophile sting operation on the island of Baru, just off the beaches of, let's see how this pronounces it, because I can't continue to.
Cartagena,
Colombia. I knew I was saying it wrong. Ballard's founding myth, 25. Ballard claims that El Fuego, using his vast knowledge of the sex trafficking cartel and the child trafficking network of Colombia, being trafficked in ship containers put Ballard in touch with Eduardo, who was going to build a child brothel hotel on the island of Baru. Ballard claims that Eduardo put Ballard in touch with Samuel and the plaintiff, Keke, who were both known as child sex traffickers. Ballard claims that a meeting was held with Ballard, El Fuego, Eduardo, and Samuel to discuss having a pedophile party. Ballard claims that a second meeting was held at Eduardo's home with Ballard, El Fuego, Eduardo, Samuel, and plaintiff Keke. It's probably Kylie. I'm sure I'm butchering her name, y'all.
Kelly.
Please excuse me. It's Colombian, so I'm definitely butchering it, and I apologize in advance. Ballard claims that plaintiff Keke was a known beauty queen and sex trafficker who runs a modeling agency that brings kids to Eduardo by going to schools and tricking parents into handing over their kids to her so that they can be models and phony modeling agency. Ballard claims that plaintiff Keke and Eduardo were in actuality grooming the children to be sex slaves. Undercover agent Elkin from the CTI, which is the Colombian equivalent to the FBI, would work the streets with Ballard to obtain the child for a price and then offer the children to an island full of pedophiles, played by the... Yeah, this one is going to be a challenge.
Rambo-esque.
O.U.R. donors who bravely solicited young children for sex until the CTI arrived and arrested the traffickers and rescued the young children. Ballard claims at this meeting, plaintiff Keke told Ballard she had a 12-year-old virgin and could bring 40 children between the ages of 11 and 16 to the sex party, including a 12-year-old virgin who plaintiff Keke was going to groom for Paul Hutchinson to have sex with at the party. Ballard claims that a third meeting was held at a beach restaurant with Ballard, El Fuego, Eduardo, Samuel, and plaintiff Keke, where plaintiff Keke showed Ballard pictures of the two virgins, ages 12 and 13, that would cost $1,000 each. Paul Hutchinson was the boss who wanted sex with a young girl. Ballard claims that on October 11th, 2014, two boats carrying mainly young children under the age of 13 arrived at the island of Baru, accompanied by plaintiff Keke, El Fuego, Eduardo, Samuel, and others. Utah Attorney General Sean Reyes, who used the name El Sombra as a decoy, was one of those roost pedophiles' bodyguards. Reyes proclaimed on Ballard's podcast that Ballard infiltrated a pedophilia cartel cell to bring up to 40 young children to the island. So Reyes was there too. Here he goes. This was when Ballard had all these podcasts up. Ballard claims that he wanted to see the virgins, so Eduardo went to get them with Ballard, and Ballard found them crying and scared to death. Ballard then gave the traffickers, including plaintiff Keke, cash, and immediately a jump team from the CTI moved in and arrested all the alleged traffickers. Ballard claims that the children came running up to the O.U.R. volunteers, cheering and singing, thanking the O.U.R. volunteers, to which someone said to Ballard, "This is the sound of freedom." The United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, issued a press release a couple days later claiming that the rescue of 55 sex trafficking victims, all minors. It further stated that Kelly Johanna Suarez Moy was one of the traffickers arrested and jailed. The worldwide press went crazy with the news. The Colombian newspaper said, let's let this pronounce it for us.
Las Semanas
headline proclaimed on October 14th, 2014, Kelly Johanna, the queen of child sexual exploitation. And there's the link for that. Headlines from across the world proclaimed plaintiff Keke's arrest. Here's one of them. Colombian beauty queen arrested for running child prostitution ring. You see there. There's another one. Colombia dismantles child sex ring alleged tied to beauty queen. This was Rolling Stone. That was Inside Crime. Rolling Stone's story said the mission, dubbed Operation Underground Railroad, was the creation of former CIA and Homeland Security agent Tim Ballard, who recruited a ragtag group of volunteers that featured 2 CrossFit instructors from Utah, a door-to-door salesman, and Lori Holden, who portrayed Andrea on The Walking Dead for 3 seasons. Fusion News said that the sting was spearheaded by former CIA agent and ex-Homeland Security investigator Tim Ballard, who organized an elaborate fake bachelor party and requested underage prostitutes sent to a vacation house full of hidden cameras. Ballard got a tremendous amount of credibility in Utah from the press. LDS Living magazine said Ballard's team found tremendous success on nearly a dozen operations last year, but the crowning achievement of Operation Underground Railroad in 2014 occurred on October 11th, when in cooperation with the Colombian government, they executed the largest known human trafficking bust to date. Okay, anybody remember any of this? Anybody remember any of, like this? This is such a big deal for those of you that have been following this story. This is a huge deal because this was their claim to fame. This is what gave them credibility. O.U.R was only founded in 2013. Sean Reyes took office in 2013. These jump teams that they were supposedly, paramilitary jump teams that were going in to rescue kids. But this is the one that made national headlines that they used in all of these congressional hearings, that the news went wild with, that they gave him credit for, his team for, all of the different. This is what really kind of launched O.U.R into having credibility in the trafficking space, if that makes sense. This is a big, big deal. This is a huge deal. Glenn Beck, a leading American media personality, political commentator, author, and founder of the Nazarene Fund, announced the group recently completed their biggest mission yet, rescuing 55 children in Colombia. Utah's Fox 13 News reported during a recent mission in Colombia in October, the team infiltrated a sex party, rescuing 123 child slaves and arresting 15 traffickers. The Deseret News proclaimed that Sean Reyes had been involved in rescuing sex slaves. The myth of Timothy Ballard was born, and the donations to O.U.R came pouring in. Here's the facts. Reyes was put on O.U.R's advisory team, whereby he would run interference for Ballard and O.U.R, ignoring glaring signs of fraud and corruption in O.U.R, and instead diverting investigative efforts to other nonprofits, charging and incarcerating without bail other nonprofit operators who may have been doing illegal things, but which were partly I can't even read today.
Paltry
in comparison to O.U.R. I was like, wait. Reyes had knowledge that Ballard obtained false government identification for himself and his couple's ruse partners, and Reyes even promised to obtain false government passports for future ops. O.U.R reported to the IRS $6.9 million in revenue in 2016, $22.3 million in 2019, $45 million in 2020, $52.930 million in 2021, and $56.773 million in 2022. Ballard became the de facto and most recognized face of anti-child trafficking, which everyone agrees is a noble cause. Ballard became a character of mythical proportions with unquestioned legitimacy. Ballard was appointed as a special advisor to Ivanka Trump in October 2017. Ballard was invited by President Trump to join a White House anti-trafficking advisory board. Ballard was appointed to the White House Public-Private Partnership Advisory Council to end human trafficking in 2019. From the beginning, with Columbia Raid, Ballard was in to make for-profit documentaries and films of himself and O.U.R, including the creation of a movie called The Sound of Freedom. We have talked about this at length. Hey, everybody coming in. His goal all along was a reality TV show. That was mentioned when they did that whiteboard meeting and all of their founding stuff with O.U.R. That was mentioned right out of the gate, that they wanted a reality TV show. That's why they had cameras following them around. That was always the hopes, was making a reality TV show, a docuseries, a movie. That was always the goal. He got into it, in my opinion, solely for that. Again, Glenn Beck and his companies were the first ones to put up the first $1 million to get O.U.R off the ground. It's all been connected for a long time. And by the way, the last dispensation, your video is super easy to debunk. Thank you. I will be doing that this week because that's an embarrassment. And how dare you shame the victims of Ballard so openly with your full chest while claiming that you're a Mormon when he's been excommunicated from the Mormon church because of his behavior. But anyways, go on with your bad self. Defendant SOF LLC, Sound of Freedom LLC, was formed to funnel the profits from the movie to Tim Ballard and others. But yet, excuse me, interjection, Tim Ballard and Catherine are grifting for attorney's fees because the legal stuff is about bankrupted him, but he was said to have gotten a $14 million settlement. And we know that in 2022, he took over $500,000 himself from O.U.R for his salary. I'm having a hard time understanding how he would be broke after getting a $14 million severance package in the Sound of Freedom movie. Anyways, that's another story. Work on the script began in 2015 and was written by defendants Rod Barr and Alejandro Monteverde. Principal photography for the Sound of Freedom began in the summer of 2018 in Colombia. Defendant Sound of Freedom LLC is listed as the author of the movie. This motion picture is protected under laws of the United States and other countries. Unauthorized duplication, distribution, or exhibition is prohibited and may result in civil liability and criminal prosecution. Sound of Freedom Movie LLC is the author of this motion picture and for the purposes of the Berne Convention and all national laws giving effect hereto. The movie was released in the United States on the 4th of July, 2023. The film claims to portray the work Tim Ballard has done, and the movie has been hugely successful across the globe, adding to the myth of Tim Ballard. Plaintiff Kelly is portrayed in The Sound of Freedom by the character Katie Giselle, which is remarkably close to Plaintiff Kelly's first name, Kelly, and the name of Giselle is similar to the Ghislaine Maxwell of the Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking. The actress who portrayed Plaintiff Kelly in The Sound of Freedom is Jessica Barato, who looks similar to the way Plaintiff Kelly looked in 2014. Angel Studios explains on its webpage that the movie is based on the true story of Tim Ballard, who journeys to rescue a girl from child traffickers. Angel Studios explains on its webpage that the character Giselle represents the real-life Plaintiff Kelly. The movie portrays Giselle as a wealthy socialite beauty queen who has a child modeling agency in Cartagena, where she traffics her models to the cartel. Giselle travels from Cartagena to, oh yeah, come on.
Tegucigalpa.
Yeah, I would have, we're not even going to try that one. Honduras to recruit kids to work for her modeling agency, and then she kidnaps them and takes them back to Colombia as sex slaves trapped in a shipping container. So, Operation Underground Railroad, Real Stories of Sound of Freedom. There's a shipping containers on the boat and forth across the border with kids inside these trucks. The movie also shows Plaintiff Kelly bringing these young children, 12 years old and younger, to this remote island where the children look and act as child slaves. In the movie, Tim Ballard hands Plaintiff Kelly some money, and then the CTI jump out and arrest her and the others. Plaintiff Kelly, apparently in anticipation of this lawsuit, yells that she is a victim. In real life, Plaintiff Kelly spent the next 18 months at the women's prison in Cartagena while she awaited trial. She was finally released by habeas corpus pending trial. Tim Ballard returned to Cartagena to testify about Plaintiff Kelly's alleged trafficking activities in order to have Plaintiff Kelly convicted. He blasted his heroic return over social media, being photographed with a bodyguard and wearing a bulletproof vest to portray himself as needing protection from snipers. Are you joking? I mean, nothing should be shocking anymore. As of November 30th, 2023, Sound of Freedom has grossed $184.2 million in the United States and in Canada, $66.1 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $250.3 million. And he wants the public to pay for his legal fees. It is the 9th highest grossing film of 2023 in the United States and Canada. By late August 2023, it was considered one of history's most successful independent films. Reality. An error does not become the truth by reason of multiplied propagation, nor does truth become error because nobody sees it. Gandhi. Plaintiff Kelly was born in a very small Colombian town called, sorry you guys, this is stuff that I will absolutely
Fonseca, Guajira.
not be able to pronounce. Plaintiff Kelly was raised by a single mother. The plaintiff lives in a very humble neighborhood in La Esperanza in the sector of. I'm learning how hard Spanish is to speak. This is Spanish?
Abrero.
Oh. In Cartagena, Colombia. Plaintiff Kelly saw the difficulties her mother and neighbors faced due to poverty and lack of opportunity, so she went to the university to obtain a degree in social work in order to help people. Because of Plaintiff Kelly's desire to give back to her neighborhood, when she was 19 years old, she was nominated into what is essentially a popularity contest in Cartagena called the Independence Queen, where she represented her neighborhood, as they honored Colombia's independence from Spain, something akin to being nominated to be a girls' state representative in Utah. There's a picture of her. Beautiful girl. This was not a beauty contest, but rather a competition to be named the ambassador of one's neighborhood. Plaintiff Kelly did not win the contest. Plaintiff Kelly never ran a child modeling agency. Plaintiff Kelly did not have the funds or wherewithal to recruit children from her neighborhood, let alone traffic them from Honduras in shipping crates. Prior to being invited to the island party and getting arrested, Plaintiff Kelly was not well known to anyone in Cartagena outside of her close friends and family. Prior to being invited to the island party and getting arrested, Plaintiff Kelly had never been involved in trafficking of children or adults. Tim Ballard creating the demand. In 2012, two filmmakers heard a radio interview between Glenn Beck and Timothy Blaine Ballard, where Ballard was peddling one of his alternative history books. The filmmakers were looking for an American history consultant for a project they were working on and called Beck's show to be put in contact with Ballard. Ballard agreed to meet with the filmmakers. Ballard immediately began to tell the filmmakers stories about his work with the CIA and Homeland Security investigation as an undercover agent. Side note, that still has never been vetted. What he actually did, was he an unpaid intern, what his separation was, that is still up in the air and hopefully will come out in the deposition. Oh yeah, because the judge ordered that Timothy Ballard has to be in front of him for a deposition. He's not going to get out of it. So that happened too. Filmmakers were impressed by Ballard's compelling tales and told him that they would be interested in making a documentary about his important undercover work. Ballard agreed, but insisted that he become a full partner in the production of the film, stating, "It would kill me to see you guys up there accepting awards and me not get one." With an outline for a film and TV series, Operation Underground Railroad was born. The filmmakers began filming everything that Ballard did, believing that Ballard was an expert because of his CIA and HSI experience as an undercover agent helping to rescue trafficked children. The idea for the series and documentary, The Abolitionist, was hatched, and Ballard planned operations in order to collect video footage that could be edited into a money-making documentary and series. Ballard founded the nonprofit organization Operation Underground Railroad in 2013 that claims to lead the fight against human trafficking and sexual exploitation worldwide. In line with his desire to be the hero in movies and become rich and famous, on July 28, 2014, Ballard began setting up his op. Ballard went walking on the Playa Blanca beach, where he was approached by a beach vendor named Fugo Juan Manuel Oquendo Sierra, who is listed in court document as a tourist guide known locally as a clown and a buffoon, working hand to mouth on a daily basis, selling whatever a customer wants. Fugo asked Ballard if he wanted something to drink, smoke, or if he wanted some cocaine or marijuana. Ballard asked Fugo if he could provide women for him to have sex with. Fugo said that he knew where he could. Prostitution is legal in Colombia through pimping, though pimping is illegal. Ballard then asked if Fugo could get young children for sex. There was no pedophile sex trade in Cartagena that Fugo knew of, but he wanted to make money. Ballard then told Fugo he wanted to have a large party where he would bring in a lot of wealthy pedophiles and that he needed a lot of young children for this to happen. Okay. Trigger warning, because this is this is too much. This is so much to unpack. Realistically, if you followed this at all in depthly, this is absolutely disgusting, because the guy even tells him there's not a trade there. Jimmy Rex said in his interview that they went to many cities, many countries, and they couldn't find trafficking. I mean, not that it wasn't existing, but they couldn't find, it wasn't just out there like they've made it out to be. And here we're going to get a firsthand glimpse of how they set this up, the supply and demand, and created, in my opinion, again, what they used for all of these TV shows and documentaries and to make him a hero. Okay. Fugo said he would talk to some of his friends and see what he could do to arrange such. Ballard and Fugo agreed to remain in contact to set up this pedophile party. Ballard went to Agent Elkin of the CTI and informed him that he had a contact with traffickers who could obtain several young children for a pedophile party and bust. It was agreed that a sting operation would be held. Ballard agreed to provide ruse pedophiles who were wealthy volunteers and donors, mainly from the state of Utah, through his nonprofit Operation Underground Railroad. Ballard also agreed to provide Paul Hutchinson as the pedophile boss who wanted young-looking black girls to have anal sex with. CTI agreed to provide the law enforcement. Ballard and Hutchinson were deputized as undercover agents. Ballard and Hutchinson signed contracts to be deputized undercover agents that included the anti-entrapment clause. In no event may the covert agent provoke or induce the indicted, charged or investigated, or any member of the organized criminal group or a third party outside the organization to commit punishable conduct for which was not predisposed. It may not violate legal standards superior to those of the criminal conduct under investigation. Do not attack the life and integrity of the people. Fugo contacted a friend by the name of Eduardo for assistance on how to round up underage children for the sex party, given that there was no known cartel or trafficking ring involved in trafficking underage children for sex. On October 7th, 2014, a meeting was held between Ballard, Elkin, and Eduardo, where they agreed that Ballard would pay between $250 to $300 per child provided at the pedophile party. Ballard also gave Eduardo money to make arrangements for the party. It was decided that a social media invitation would go out on Facebook inviting young people to the party. Plaintiff Kelly was nowhere near this meeting and had no way of knowing that it was occurring. Court records verify that Plaintiff Kelly was not at this meeting. On October 9th, 2014, Eduardo called Elkin and told him that he could provide more children than previously agreed, and he could lower the price of each child. A meeting was held the same day where Ballard, Elkin, and Eduardo were present, along with a recently turned 18-year-old gay young man by the name of Samuel David Alvarez Martinez Samuel, Luis Miguel Mosquera Lewis. We're just going to go with those. And a young woman by the name of Natalie. They call her Natty. Natty claimed that she could obtain about 15 children, mainly from Cartagena's high schools, guaranteeing that the oldest child would be about 16 years old. Samuel said he could obtain 26 female children and 6 male children, given that he worked in a modeling school, which is where he met Plaintiff Kelly. Samuel thought that he could recruit children from the school. Plaintiff Kelly was nowhere near this meeting and had no way of knowing that it was occurring, nor did she have any knowledge of the theme of the meeting or what was discussed. Court records verify that Plaintiff Kelly was not at this meeting. On October 10th, 2014, Eduardo called Elkin and confirmed that he had accumulated commitments for 28 young girls and 3 boys under the age of 10 years old. He also confirmed that Samuel had accumulated 26 young girls and 8 young boys. This just makes me sick. Nowhere in this phone call was Plaintiff Kelly mentioned. Unfortunately for Plaintiff Kelly, Samuel was an acquaintance of hers from some joint modeling work they had done together previously. Samuel told Plaintiff Kelly that a rich North American, Hutchinson, aka Pablo, was coming to the party looking for a young-looking black girl to have sex with, and that she would be paid for attending. At the time, plaintiff Kelly was 20 years old, but she looked under the age of 15 and she is Black. So Samuel believed that she would be a good bait for Hutchinson and invited her to the party as one of the young girls he committed to provide for Hutchinson. Given plaintiff Kelly's poverty, plaintiff Kelly decided to go to the party to try and become the novia of Paul Hutchinson, as it would give her and her mother a way out of their poverty if she had a rich North American boyfriend. Okay, y'all, this just makes me fucking sick. This makes me absolutely fucking sick. I'm sorry. It will be my ever-loving last mission on this planet to make sure that this mofo and all of his associates are brought to their knees. Mark my words. For them to set these people up who are desperate to get out of poverty, who are desperate to have a shot at life, that have no trafficking, to set this all up and then to demonize them, make a movie. I am beyond livid. This is the third time I've read through it, and every time I catch something different that I didn't before, and I'm just fuming. He went to third world countries where they have nothing, just like what's happening with the asylum seekers who are trying to make a better life, who are trying to do everything in their power to give their children a better life. They're desperate to do anything. And this motherfucker and a bunch of wealthy white men from the fucking state of Utah who claim that they're LDS go into these third world countries where there's not trafficking and they set it up. I'm just, okay. Anyways, at bare minimum, plaintiff Kelly would be paid to attend the party. Samuel asked plaintiff Kelly to come to a meeting at Eduardo's apartment, whereby plaintiff Kelly and Samuel's niece were present so that Tim Ballard could verify that Samuel and Eduardo had young girls ready for Paul Hutchinson, aka Pablo. Plaintiff Kelly and Samuel's niece were the only two alleged young girls at that meeting, again as bait, though Ballard claims on the abolitionists that there were other children. Oh, yeah. If you haven't watched that, that one and Operation Toussaint are just disgusting. Plaintiff Kelly also saw the party invitation on Facebook. Another meeting was held between Ballard, Eduardo, Samuel, and Plaintiff Kelly at a restaurant on the beach to make last-minute arrangements for the party. Plaintiff Kelly attended this meeting at the urging of Samuel to show that they had a young Black girl arranged to have sex with Pablo. Ballard began emphasizing that Pablo wanted to have anal sex with the young Black girl. At that point in time, Plaintiff Kelly spoke up and asked that Pablo be delicate with her, as she did not want to be violently raped by Pablo. On October 11th, 2014, Plaintiff Kelly got on the small boat with other young adults ages 13 to 30 who had also accepted the invitations to go to this party. Some of the young adults even paid $5 for the boat ride. None of the young adults on the boat were trafficked in any way other than Ballard. And they were all there for the same party, including those who had paid the modest sum of $5 to attend. None of these young adults were ever kept in shipping containers or trafficked, except on the boat to the island for sex. In fact, court documents demonstrate that none of the young adults were trafficked or were sex slaves. All were either invited by social media or by invitation of Samuel, as in the case of Plaintiff Kelly, Natty, or Fugo. Court documents and interviews verify that Plaintiff Kelly invited no one to the party. Court documents demonstrate one of the young men who was at the op, Pedro, age 17 years old, who is gay and lived at home with his parents, Oscar and Alejandra, and Cartagena, learned of the party on Facebook. Court documents show that Pedro confirms that he was never previously trafficked and had previously only had sexual relations with his boyfriend, who, according to court documents, accompanied him on this trip to the island, though he denies that now. Before the party on October 11th, 2014, Pedro did not know Kelly Suarez, neither privately nor publicly, as some supposed beauty queen from Cartagena. At no time did Kelly Suarez invite Pedro to the party or promise him money. Before October 11th, 2014, Pedro had never been sexually trafficked. The only people who gave Pedro money for sex were the North Americans from O.U.R. Court documents demonstrate that the ages of the young girls who voluntarily showed up for a promised party on the island of Peru. 30 of the young adults were adults, with the oldest being 30. 16 of the young adults were the age of 17. 7 of the young adults were the age of 16. 2 of the young adults were the age of 15. 1 of the young adults was the age of 14. 1 of the young adults was the age of 13. Court documents demonstrate that Addie did not show up for the boat trip to the island for the sex party, although she had agreed in earlier meetings to come. Upon arrival at the island, plaintiff Kelly saw Samuel sitting at a table with Ballard. As she knew Samuel, she sat down at a table next to Samuel. As the prosecutor in the Colombian case acknowledges in her questioning of Ballard, Ballard only pushed money to Eduardo and Samuel. Ballard kept wanting to insist on trial in Colombia, that he pushed the money to El Fugo, Samuel, Eduardo, and plaintiff Kelly. The CTI immediately dropped in and arrested plaintiff Kelly and the others. The young adults and teenagers who were brought to the island were very confused and traumatized by these events, as was plaintiff Kelly. In reality, none of the young adults that were taken to the party had been previously trafficked, and none of the clients were actually pedophiles looking for sex. Plaintiff Kelly had been confused for Natty, as plaintiff Kelly had no involvement in the planning of the party obtaining the young adults and was not aware of the false pretense of the party until she was arrested. The true details of the op did not deter Tim Ballard and O.U.R. from proceeding with their fraud, as they had several cameras filming everything at the sting so that they could had video for the sizzle. I got to take a break for a second. I'm getting sick. I'm literally getting sick reading this. I knew this was coming. Here's the sizzle. Remember, don't forget the sizzle. Can you imagine how traumatized these kids were? Like, it's one thing to rescue kids that are being trafficked, but to set up a trafficking. Oh, there's a special place in hell for these people. This is what I was talking about the other day. Shop, if you're still in here, this is the video I was talking about that last dispensation did, and I shared in regards to the trafficking victim that they supposedly brought on. Like, this is wishful thinking, pickle whisper. It's all been a lie. Everything has been a lie. Sound of Freedom is based off of fake operations like this. Oh, yeah, Shop, that one. So that video for me, when they brought that trafficking victim on, and again, I'm not questioning his experience whatsoever, because I think he was being completely honest, but very similar things, like he had never been trafficked before. He was horrified that day. And now they have kept him in close proximity, putting money into his, trying to help rescue people in trafficking, because that one day scared the ever-loving shit out of him so bad. And that was all Janet Roussan. Like, he refers to her as mom. Like, this is so sick to see them using these people in third world countries who just want a chance at life. Like, it's one thing to know that it happens, but for him to purposely go to these third world countries and pick these people who are struggling purely, like, this is an all-time, sorry, this shit gets me though every time, and I'm angry. That's why I'm crying. I'm angry that he has been seen as this hero when all he wanted was a freaking reality TV show and some fame. He wanted to be the next president of the United States and the next Mormon president. It takes a sick, sick human being to be able to do this to people who've never been trafficked before. That's not what's going on. To set this all up and put people in those horrible positions to do this. Like, yeah, yes, Ari, it is cutie pie, right? It is so, this is just, it's a lot. Sorry, guys. Sorry, I can't help it. Like, this is why I will continue to fight for victims all across the board, because this is just purely disgusting. Okay, anyways. Continuing on, we've got 66 pages to get through, and we've got exhibits. The true details of the op did not deter Tim Ballard and O.U.R. from proceeding with their fraud, as they had several cameras filming everything at the sting, so that they had video for the sizzle. By the time that the news hit the press, plaintiff Kelly was being presented by Tim Ballard as Miss Cartagena, the beauty pageant queen who traded her fame to traffic children by essentially mixing the life stories of Natty and Samuel into a fraudulent narrative about the plaintiff Kelly. Plaintiff Kelly went from being an anonymous face in the crowd to being a hated in Colombia. Here's another one. Colombian beauty queen busted for running child prostitution ring. I wonder how much these reporters were paid. Before now, we thought toddlers and tiaras was bad as it gets when it comes to beauty pageants, but apparently we were wrong. Cartagena beauty queen arrested in child sex tourism ring. She is a stunning young lady, too. Here is some pictures and more news articles. Plaintiff Kelly was very scared and confused as to what had just happened to her. Her concerns were not unwarranted, as she had spent the next 18 months in prison awaiting trial. The man who claims to rescue kids from cages placed a kid into a cage for 18 months for his own fame and stardom. CTI undercover agent Elkin has since been convicted of corruption and abuse of public office for taking bribes, and he is a fugitive with a warrant out for his incarceration for 129 months. While plaintiff Kelly was in prison in 2015, defendants Rod Barr and Alejandro Monteverde and defendant Sound of Freedom, LLC, were writing the script for the movie The Sound of Freedom. Had defendants Rod Barr and Alejandro Monteverde fact-checked the court records, they would have been aware that plaintiff Kelly was not at 3 of the meetings with Operation Triple Take was planned, was clearly confused for Natty, and went to the island party as a fraudulent, induced, trafficked person. Hold on, you guys. I got to step out for a second. Sorry, y'all. Okay. This is just a lot. Had defendants Rod Barr and Alejandro Monteverde fact-checked the court records, they would have been aware that plaintiff Kelly was not a mover or a shaker in Cartagena and that she had no access to children. Had defendants fact-checked Tim Ballard, they would have been aware that several media reports demonstrate that he made his false reputation upon entrapment in third world countries. For example, the HuffPost reported that courts in the U.S. and many other countries would have a hard time making the distinction. In most jurisdictions, such actions could constitute a defense to criminal liability. Stackpole also fails to explore the ethical and legal minefield of O.U.R. live streaming their operations to benefactors overseas. From a perspective of victims' right to privacy, such actions are reprehensible. And from a criminal justice perspective, there are even more pressing concerns about the O.U.R. approach. First, that the entire premise of its operations, that local law enforcement will take over when the dirty work has been done, is dangerously naive. Why are the police in Mexico, the Dominican Republic, and Colombia not arresting child sex traffickers if they're so easy to find? The simplest explanation is law enforcement complicity in such crimes. Agreeing to cooperate with O.U.R. is a win-win. Local cops get to keep an eye on what's happening and ensure O.U.R. doesn't stray into their turf. They also gain international kudos for taking on the traffickers. Foreign policy's analysis fails to ask the most basic question of all. We know that child trafficking is a huge problem in the United States. Why is O.U.R. not operating here? For that matter, why are they not raiding brothels of Amsterdam or London? The simple reason is that lacking in a legal capacity to undertake such operations, Ballard and his RAID team would be arrested on the spot. And any court in any of these jurisdictions would not hesitate to throw out a case that rests on the evidence of an O.U.R. type raid because of the failure to meet even the most basic standards of supervision and accountability. It's no surprise that the organization and its fellow travelers limit their activities to countries burdened by dysfunctional criminal justice systems that, for their own reasons or perhaps in response to pressure from the U.S. government, agree to cooperate. Okay, I got a side note here. This is what I've been trying to highlight for so fucking long. And I have been shut up and I've been told I'm too fucking woke and it's all my political agenda and all this shit. These motherfuckers were going into impoverished countries, third world countries, and buying children for fame and fortune. They were creating trafficking, in my opinion, all to line their pockets and defraud their donors. Do you understand how reprehensible this is? They were putting children, buying children. They were creating the supply and demand. All for the fucking movie that I have heard over and over again is such a good piece because it brings awareness to trafficking. It fucking created trafficking. And he picked those countries specifically because he was a Spanish-speaking missionary who was taught by the fucking church how to put on a good face and get people to open up to you and get what you want. He took a bunch of white, wealthy men who were sex tourists to these third world countries where they knew that the governments were corrupt and that they could get away with whatever the fuck they wanted to. He's not stupid. He worked for Homeland Security, whether he was unpaid, whatever, however he was let go. He worked enough. He went to school. He's got a degree. He was a missionary in a Spanish-speaking country. All of that. If you don't understand what a disgusting piece of shit he is at this point in time, please leave my chat. I'm so sick of people defending this fool and people like him. And then using the border crisis like fucking Betty. Betty, I'm coming for you this week too. Maybe you should look at how long this invasion has been going on. And then you have people that you've been promoting who go into these countries that you are saying everybody's criminals coming from. Who's the criminals? Sorry, guys. I am so pissed about this. Like I said, this is the third time I've read this, and every time it makes my blood boil more and more. Especially seeing that piece of shit on CPAC stage talking about our border crisis when this motherfucker went into these third world countries, bought off, and made this whole show all for fame and fortune to make himself look like a hero. And not a single person gave a fuck enough about the trafficking victims. Why do you think they have no aftercare? Because they're not trafficking victims. Oh. This is disgusting. Oh, fuck. The Church of Scientology is just as corrupt. Tim Ballard's and probably has been in bed, figuratively, with Marisol Nichols, who is a Scientologist, whose best buddy is with Elena Cardone, who is the fucking one running a GoFundMe for former President Orange Jesus, and his defense fucking funds and his fines for $355 million. It's all connected, y'all. It's all connected. Meanwhile, they say that they stand against human trafficking. No wonder why Marisol had no problem being an op with Ballard when these were fake ops and all for TV and fame as is, and being associated with the Church of Scientology. It's all connected, y'all. It's all connected. Oh, difficult, you're fine. You're totally fine. Like, this is just, and to see that I can't wait for you guys to see my debunking of this fucking bullshit attempt to smear the victims and degrade the victims even more that they came out with 2 days ago. It is disgusting, but I will be damned if that flies. I will be debunking all of it because it is so gross. But anyways, okay. Difficult, you're taking it. Difficult, you guys, if you don't follow Difficult Research, Prussia has an incredible, she does incredible work too, and she can connect so many of these people and all of that stuff. Okay, we're walking downstairs, and then we're going to finish reading this. Sorry, y'all. Like, I didn't expect to have this emotional reading it with you guys. Like, reading it alone is one thing, but then, like, this is the shit we've been talking about for so long. And to see it in a document and to see how many people, she was desperate for a new life for her and her mother. Like, to see them taken advantage of like this. And then for all the people like Betty and these ignorant fools to be like, look at, they're invading our country. Bitch, how did you get here, first of all? Secondly, and then promote somebody like Tim Ballard, who has gone in and weaponized these people in their countries. Like, the whole reality of it is just so overwhelming to me. It is like, these people stand for fucking nothing. Yes, I'm going to smoke a cigarette. That's where we're headed, and I'll continue this. Yeah, Heidi's Mind, absolutely. Tracy, yes. Yep. I'll be honest, like, the other court cases are terrible on this. Thank you, T, for dropping that for me. The other civil suits that are filed are terrible. Absolutely. All of them are horrible. But this one hit me a different way. Like, I think in the midst of all of this talk about everything that's been going on, like, this just hit in such a different way. And I just feel so bad for these, because you know how many people are like Kelly that they did this to? We haven't even hit the tip of an iceberg, and nobody would have ever given a shit if it wasn't for these attorneys that took on the victims' cases in Utah and thankfully got in touch with the right people. These people would have never been heard. Never. Sean Reyes should be, and this man is sitting as Utah's attorney general still. He's still seated as Utah's attorney general, and he was there for these. He was working security. Like, I don't think people, even most of you in here, can understand the implications and the bigger picture here, but this is huge. This is a huge situation. In this court case right in itself, if you are a creator, I bought the documents. I will post them in a Google Drive in my members again. Please, Difficult, if you need them, I'm sure you probably already have them too, but please review them. This needs heard. This is what the news media should be covering. Like, this is horrifying. Okay, let's smoke and continue on. Hey, Nana Tiddler. Okay. After 18 months in the Colombian San Diego women's prison, plaintiff Kelly was released pending trial via habeas corpus. Ballard claims in one of his movie scripts that it was because of corrupt judges in Colombia that she was released after 18 months. Y'all, and nobody second guessed it. And they brought, oh my God. I hope Angel Studios is taken out for this too. Plaintiff Kelly was hated by the people of Cartagena. Plaintiff Kelly received death threats and was spit at by people. Plaintiff Kelly's normal life was destroyed. Plaintiff Kelly decided that she would help others who had been wrongfully accused. So she went to law school, recently graduating. Okay. Can we give the girl her flowers? Can we give the girl her flowers? Because she became an attorney because of this. Good for her. This just... After some time, approximately 2016, people quit staring at plaintiff Kelly and talking about her, and she was ready to put this horrible experience behind her. However, defendant Sound of Freedom LLC had other ideas. Defendant Sound of Freedom LLC was being formed to make this Cartagena rescue into a movie. In 2018, the movie was filmed in Colombia and Mexico by defendant Sound of Freedom LLC. Paul Hutchinson funded and produced much of the movie, and as such, named the rescue girl after his wife, Rocio. I don't know how to pronounce that. Matt Osborne, O.U.R, as number 2 man, was given a role in the movie. Matt Osborne's a piece of shit, too, in my opinion. That's not in the court documents, but that's my opinion. The little boy that the cartel lawyer wanted to rape in the movie was given the name Simba. After criticisms came about that no one was actually rescued, it was decided that the character Simba would be based upon Pedro. Pedro decided he would adopt that history as his own because he was offered money and trips by Ballard and O.U.R. Pedro recognized that he could flee. Oh my God. You guys know who Pedro... Shop, if you're still in here, you'll recognize Pedro. Pedro recognized that he could fleece O.U.R and Angel Studios for at least $2,100 a month for his non-existent aftercare nonprofit entity in Cartagena that he called Teando Sunas. A distribution deal was made with the Latin American subsidiary of the 20th Century Fox. When the studio was purchased by the Walt Disney Company, Disney shelved the film. Subsequently, Sound of Freedom bought the distribution rights back from Disney. However, Ballard's years of lies, deceit, and sexual deviancy were finally catching up with him. Ballard authored a book proposal entitled Rescued from Darkness, a personal odyssey from a life battling human trafficking. In the book proposal, he revealed that in addition to the crushing responsibilities of fighting an ongoing war against human trafficking in 2020, he believed he became a target of a corporate coup attempt with O.U.R targeting Ballard personally through the investigation of Ballard and O.U.R from the Davis County attorneys. Ballard placed his uncle Craig Anderson of C.H. Anderson Construction as the head of O.U.R's board of directors in order to quash a corporate coup Ballard believed to have occurred within O.U.R and restructure O.U.R so that Ballard could continue going on foreign ops. Jimmy Rex highlights some of this in his video. He talks a little bit about this. When Ballard found out about the Davis County investigation, he collapsed onto an asphalt parking lot in Miami, Florida, where he was rescued by Tony Robbins and his wife, Sage. Fuck out of here. Ballard was jealous of OUR's nonprofit financial success, and he wanted to grow his own brand so he could capitalize monetarily from his work more than the salary he was drawing from OUR. $500,000 a year isn't enough, I guess. It was Ballard's belief that he was convinced by traders to step away from OUR to focus on making money, when in reality it was a part of the corporate coup to rid OUR of Ballard. The book proposal also reaffirmed Ballard's view that O.U.R had fallen into a state of unprofessionalism and incompetence that only Ballard could repair through the help of his uncle Craig. Ballard revealed his addictions to Xanax and Ambien, and that he had intensive intervention to address those addictions. Ballard became aware that one of the filmmakers of Abolitionists was working in Haiti, and what Ballard viewed was in direct competition with O.U.R. So Ballard asked the local officials arrest the filmmaker. The donating public finally became aware that in order to purportedly find and save trafficked children, Ballard would receive psychic information from psychic Janet Roussan about where the op should occur, along with reassurance and justification of everything Ballard did while predicting the future situations the operatives would be in so that they could plan the next op. Miss Roussan claims that she spoke to a dead prophet named Nephi, who directed her about where to locate the trafficked children. Ballard used O.U.R and its ops to fund his personal fantasies of grandeur, much as he did the movie The Sound of Freedom. Ballard began a program for women accompanying him on ops and called the program the Couple's Ruse. Ballard claims that the Couple's Ruse was an undercover tool to prevent detection by pedophiles when Ballard would not engage in sexual touching of the trafficked women offered up to him in strip clubs and massage parlors across the world. Ballard would choose a woman who worked with O.U.R. With O.U.R. or would invite a well-intentioned volunteer to be trained in the couple's ruse. The women he chose had no formal training in paramilitary activities or operations, but he knew they were devoted to the O.U.R. mission of saving women and children from traffickers. Ballard claims that he implemented strict rules regarding the couple's ruse: no kissing on the lips, no touching or exposing private parts. Ballard soon began abusing the couple's ruse and eventually used the ruse as a tool for sexual grooming. As part of either an op or practice for the op, Ballard would often share a bed with a woman posing as his girlfriend or invite her to shower in his bathroom, even though accommodations at designated safe houses provided separate bedrooms and bathrooms. Before they ever went undercover together, Ballard insisted that he first needed to ensure that he and his female counterparts in the couple's ruse had physical chemistry that would be obvious to those they would meet during an operation. Ballard encouraged female operatives to participate in tantric massages before and while on couples' ruses. Ballard claimed to be so concerned about the believability of the couple's ruse that he frequently asked women to practice their couple's ruse long before a mission ever took place. To that end, Ballard flew women across the country where they would practice their sexual chemistry through tantric yoga, couples massages with escorts, and lap dancing on Ballard's lap. Ballard also frequented strip clubs in the Salt Lake Valley with those women to practice the couple's ruse. Ballard included his son, who had just returned from serving a mission for the Mormon Church, to the strip clubs without Ballard's wife's knowledge. At the strip clubs, Ballard would pay for and receive lap dances, ingest alcohol and pills at these practice ruses on O.U.R.'s dime with donor monies. Ballard engaged in a ploy where he would tell the women that if they were offered alcohol, which is forbidden by the Mormon Church, that she should take the drink and open mouth, kiss him, and spit the alcohol into his mouth, and then he would spit it when the traffickers were not looking. Fuck. However, Ballard was doing the exact opposite. He was consuming excessive amounts of alcohol, tequila on his own volition, which he drank at the strip clubs, massage parlors, and on trips, to the point of passing out. Through the couple's ruses, both in the office and in the field, Ballard eventually engaged in coerced sexual contact with several women and propositioned others. Ballard participated in several sexual acts in various states of undress while on ops missions. Ballard developed a sexual position where it appeared he was having full-on sexual intercourse with this couple's ruse victims while not actually penetrating. While inside private accommodations, when no one else was around that they needed to fool, Ballard would claim he and his female partner had to maintain the appearance of a romantic relationship at all times, in case suspicious traffickers might be surveilling them at any moment. Ballard requested that the women he invited to act as his significant other to first have a Brazilian wax. Ballard would ask each woman, "Is there anything you wouldn't do to save a child?" By the way, the statement "God's children are not for sale" came from the organization that they tried to destroy, and the one trafficking, the lady that fights against trafficking, when they tried to exploit the victims in their shelter. I think it's the third case that was filed, and they dropped the one piece against Sean Reyes. They were the ones that said that statement that Tim Ballard now claims as his own. To further convince the women of this, here, let me show you proof of that too, just because I have it handy. Give me 1 second. Let me grab this document real quick and show you that. I feel sick reading this shit. Genuinely. This is just like some of the worst shit. Oh, I look like hell because my glasses have been on my. So in that other lawsuit, the God's children are not for sale. It was told to him, "Sorry, our girls are not for sale," which is striking similar to the Sound of Freedom's slogan that God's children are not for sale. So it was from this, what he was told by somebody else when he was trying to use their victims. That's how that came about. And that's in one of the lawsuits, and the documents are in the members only group if you guys want them. So you can see all of that yourself. But this just, I can't even quite put into words how this makes me just angry. Okay, to further convince the women of his need for them on the next ops mission, Ballard would badmouth previous female partners, claiming that the women who had allegedly gone on couples ruses in the past were crazy and claiming that they had fallen in love with him along the way. Ballard used the mythical stories to motivate the women in his couples ruse to provide their mettle and their devotion to the cause by trying to outdo their supposed predecessors. When these women found themselves questioning the legitimacy of tactics involving sexual contact, they often doubted their own instincts, relying on Ballard's breadth of knowledge about rescue missions to convince themselves that such tactics were normal. Other employees of O.U.R. would warn these women not to question Ballard on their lives, or their lives would be put in danger. Ballard would also tell the women that engaging in sex play with him would improve their marriage, even as he also told them not to tell their husbands about what they were doing, or it would compromise the mission, the children, their lives, and other informants' lives. Ballard would repeatedly warn these women that if they failed in their couple's ruse mission, that they would have wasted the hard-earned money that honest donors had entrusted to O.U.R. or be caught or killed by the cartel. Ballard would also tell these women that Janet Roussan and or Ballard's wife, Catherine, had chosen them to be a part of the couple's ruse. Ballard would use spiritual manipulation to coerce them into sexual contact. Almost all the women involved are or were Mormon. Many were sexually assaulted by Ballard. Ballard began to claim that President M. Russell Ballard of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints had given Ballard permission to do the couple's ruse as long as there was no sexual intercourse or kissing on the lips, and had given a special priesthood blessing as such. By the way, for those of you that don't know, President Russell M. Ballard is now deceased. He died a couple months into all of this becoming public. Ballard would also claim that a passage from the Book of Mormon, in which a man kills another man on the promptings of the Holy Spirit, demonstrates that sometimes the Holy Spirit asks people to perform unconventional tasks. Ballard would also claim that the women that the defendant Janet Roussan told him that he had been married to them in a previous life, and so their conduct was appropriate. Additionally, Ballard would get ketamine treatments and have a scribe come in with him where he would talk to the dead prophet Nephi and issue forth prophecies about Ballard's greatness and future as a United States Senator, President of the United States, and ultimately the Mormon prophet to usher in the second coming of Jesus Christ. Ballard would also claim to his female ruse partners that if his wife, Catherine, were to die, he would immediately marry them. Ballard told one of his victims that when his wife would question what Ballard was doing with these women, Ballard would tell his wife that his female partners kept falling in love with him and wanted to kill Catherine so that they could be together. Ballard would insist that the women stay silent about their alleged sexual encounters with him because if they told anyone, it would put everyone's lives at risk on the ops mission. It was necessary to save the trafficked children, and because he was blessed by President Ballard to be a future president of the United States and then the prophet of the Mormon Church. After the women were coerced into engaging in sexual activity with Ballard, he used their encounters to his advantage, sending texts to some of the women that would say something to the effect of, "We will have so much shit on each other. We will be deterred into silence on all things forever." Ballard gave the women burner phones to use and had them use Signal, a messaging app that keeps communication private, and frequently demanded that the women erase digital traces of his conversations with them each night. Ballard also threatened that the women that he was tracking them on their burner phones and company phones he provided. Additionally, he required the women he asked to go on ops as a part of the couple's ruse to sign NDAs, claiming it was required to protect the safety of the children and participants. Ballard would then threaten to sue the women if they ever disclosed anything about his tactics, practice ops, or the couple's ruse. At least 2 marriages have broken up as a result of Tim Ballard's actions with these women. Ballard offered to pay for the divorce attorney of one of his victims, and he had a henchman call and threaten her husband on voice message, resulting in police being called and a report being filed. In 2023, defendant Angel Studios had acquired the worldwide distribution rights with a planned release during the second half of 2023. There was a small problem that the defendants did not take into account, though. Plaintiff Kelly had never been convicted of any crime, despite the fact that they were portraying her as a villain and a child sex trafficking monster. As such, Ballard and Matt Osborne went to Cartagena to testify in February 2023, as both were financially motivated to make sure Plaintiff Kelly was convicted before Sound of Freedom was released. Ballard never revealed to the court in Colombia his financial interests in the movies, the books, and podcasts he has made and profited from this raid, nor did he reveal to the CTI before going undercover that he was making a for-profit movie which could impair his impartiality and move from being bait to being the entrapper. In fact, Ballard had hundreds of hours of raw footage that he had made for his for-profit documentaries, movies, and books that he never turned over to the Colombian legal authorities. It is believed that Ballard has earned 8 figures from his entrapment of the plaintiff Kelly and placing her into prison for 18 months and traumatizing over 50 minors and young adults through the sting and sex abuse interviews alone without their parents after dark on a remote island in the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, we gotta pause again. I gotta take a break. Just a breath. We gotta breathe because this is absolutely disgusting. I am so proud of these victims. All of them. I am so incredibly proud of these victims. This is absolutely disturbing. And she would have never had her voice heard. Thank you guys all for joining with me and actually understanding how big of a deal this is and continuing to stand up for victims and their voices, because this is probably everything we have heard recently. Like, I guess I'm just not in the arena of touching things that are like easy emotionally, because Am's story has had me just completely beyond frustrated. I love and care about her dearly, so that's a really hard one for me. Then another one, Chap Tess, her story is incredibly horrifying. And the bravery of these women, and then reading the victim stories and all of these lawsuits, like, I don't take it lightly. Like, these people have been through the worst of the worst, and they are still the bravest, most humble, amazing human beings. And you see that in these documents. Like, these victims are re-victimized and by all of these people on different aspects of it, like over and over again. It's just a lot to process. It's a lot to process in all of these. And to understand that O.U.R. wanted to use Amethyst's story as a fundraising tool, just like they manipulate, all of it is so much. And it's how it all ties together, and the current invasion that they keep talking about from these third world countries, where you have white men going into these countries and victimizing the young. It's just so much. There's so much here that is disgusting. It's disgusting. Yeah, CCK, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Okay. We only have 22 pages left, you guys. We've gotten through 44, and then we have all of the we have all the, I can't even think straight. We have all the including stuff in it. Oh, this is just, it's a lot. I got to get a Diet Coke for this, because every time I think I'm okay, like I've worked through my emotions, I've read through it enough, I'm good, I've got it all chalked up, then I realize, oh no, I start reading it again, and it just has a different impact. Like, this is just something you can't, like, I don't know how people could listen to this or read this themselves and not understand the gravity of the situation and understand this is happening. This is happening. And these people were made into heroes over lies. And think about what they've done to these women. You know what, Oz? And 9 out of 10 rape victims don't report. 9 out of 10. And you wonder why. It's just, and it doesn't feel like there's ever enough. Like, it doesn't feel like even highlighting their stories, like it's not enough. It's, how are we allowing this to happen? Like, no, you're good, difficult. You're totally good. I completely understand. 9 of 10 sexual assault victims do not report. Oh, Kathy, yeah. Because if you think about it too, like the way that they've victimized the entire public at this point in time, truthfully, all of the survivors and those that are actually fighting in this arena, they've victimized them with this fake show and tell, all for movie to create a fictional film and make them like this is why victims' voices matter. It is I don't even have the right words. Sorry, y'all. Okay, we'll continue on. Thank you for bearing with me while I process this. It's just a lot to like try to compartmentalize all of these situations when in reality they all connect. It's all corruption. It's all using people who are never going to be in the position to fight back because these people have power and money and they're connected, and to watch the government, poor policy, bad laws affect all of the victims so often. Like it's just a lot. It's a lot to wrap your head around. Cutie pie, that's the biggest thing for me too. Imagine the victims we don't know in the countries that have never had representation that they went into. They went into over 30 countries. 30 countries. Jimmy Rex talks about, I think he said he was on 12 different ones, 12 different trips. Imagine the stories we don't know. Imagine the things that we don't know that happened. These are just a few. This is just the 5th civil case. And that motherfucker is crowdfunding his legal defense because him and his wife are saying that they're potentially bankrupt. And they mentioned children need families a lot in the what we're going to talk about coming up too. And that makes me so horrified because she tries to emotionally manipulate everybody by saying there was all these families that we were ready to give grants to. Well, if you had a 501c and the money was there should have been nothing stopping you when your husband had civil suits filed against him. Your 501c wasn't even included in the beginning. There was no reason why the 501c couldn't have provided the funding for those families unless there was more to it than that, which in my opinion there was more to it. Wooddrake, yes. Yes, you're so right. Oh, Rachel, thank you. I'm okay, you guys. I think my heart just breaks for the victims. Like, this isn't, I'm just, and I don't mean to say this like to anybody or even myself, but we're so lucky. We don't, I can't even imagine being in their shoes. That's what I'm like. When you think about the reality, like these people are trapped in these countries that don't have any opportunities, that are desperate for a life, that they don't have to dig through garbage cans to find their next meal. In some cases, not all of them. And you have wealthy white men that go into these countries and use and abuse their women and children like they're garbage. And they know that they'll never get held to any sort of standard because the government's corrupt. There's laws that don't protect them. Like, to know that, we are so thankful. But then to hear people calling it an invasion at our southern border, when in reality, this humanitarian crisis has been going on for years. And if we would stop going into and destabilizing these other countries, they wouldn't be trying to come for a better opportunity. They want the same opportunities that the rest of us have had. Like, I just, it's so much to wrap all of this around. All I can say is we are very privileged to not have to be in those countries, you know? Okay, back to it. Yeah, yeah. And you know what, Heidi, before I go back to reading this, his Patriot MAGA group will they will come up with ways to defend this. They will defend this. That's why Kyle got the giggles. And he wasn't giggling at this, like he's just giggling at the amount of horrifying, like how much more can factual stuff can come out about somebody and people still refuse to even see anything but he's a hero that's being he's being tortured. Like, how? Okay. Okay, we're almost through this. Ballard became friends with Tony Robbins, an American author, coach, and speaker who raised staggering amounts of money for Ballard. Ballard became friends with real estate magnates such as Trevecki, Scott Keller of Keller Investment Properties, Paul Hutchinson, M. Brett Jensen, Ballard's uncle Craig Anderson of C.H. Anderson Construction, Brad Damon, Eric Robinson, Jeffrey Frazier, Sean Wolfington, Simon Brewer, Brad Brower, Scott Gordon, Brittany Turner, David Jacobs, Mark Scott, Douglas Free, Todd Toller. I'm so proud of these people for listing all of them by name. Bryson Paxton, Jonathan Marquez, John Nimical, Chris Smith, Kenneth Kroger, David Barton, Jonathan Dodd, Al Jackson, Mel Gibson, Vess Pearson, Rad Barrett, David Lopez, and several others. Mel Gibson, Vess Pearson, Rad Barrett. I know them. I know who them are. Vess Pearson is the one that was threatening the actual trafficking. The lady that fights against trafficking, Vess Pearson, was the one threatening her and her boss. That's in the third lawsuit, I think. Ballard's nonprofit, O.U.R, began to make partnerships with other nonprofits and for-profit NGOs across the world, whereby staggering amounts of money would go back and forth, including, but not limited to, Attorney General Sean Reyes' Lava Fund, the Worldwide Holdings Investment Group, Good 360, the Spear Fund, the Draper Philharmonic Choir, the Nazarene Fund, Aerial Recovery, Free a Girl, the Hand to Hand Foundation, the American Venture Resource Association, and its affiliate AVRA Financial Incorporated, the Winthrop Rockefeller Foundation, Fin2, New Skin, ATAC, Legacy Food Company, Global Empowerment Mission, New Horizons Ministry, American First Policy Institute, and This Mission, amongst others. Defendant Angel Studios fact-checked the court records or fact-checked Ballard himself and his profit motives, it would have been aware that Plaintiff Kelly had been confused for Natty. Plaintiff Kelly went to the island party as a fraudulently induced traffic person. Plaintiff Kelly was not at the 3 meetings where the sting was planned, that her portrayal in The Sound of Freedom was defamatory and slanderous, and the marketing of The Sound of Freedom was defamatory and slanderous to Plaintiff Kelly. Had defendant Angel Studios fact-checked the court records, it would have been aware that Plaintiff Kelly was not a mover or shaker in Cartagena, that she had no access to children, and that her portrayal in The Sound of Freedom was defamatory and slanderous. Had defendant Angel Studios fact-checked the court records, it would have been aware that Plaintiff Kelly, despite Ballard's best efforts otherwise, has never been convicted of any crime. Had defendant Angel Studios fact-checked the court records, it would have been aware that O.U.R had been sued and paid a settlement in Washington State for the entrapment of a man in Operation Net Nanny. Okay. How many of you have heard about this before? Thank you, Lurker. I could not find the word for the life of me. Exhibits. Yes, we have the exhibits to get through. How many of you guys have heard about this? This is one of them that I never thought was going to come to light, and I'm so grateful that it's being brought up. This is not the first lawsuit that O.U.R. These are not the first lawsuits. This was a hush one, though, that there was a settlement reached. And that has been under the wraps for a long time, and not many people have talked about it. I heard rumblings of it, but I could not get the court documents at the time to bring it out. So I'm excited to see that that's getting talked about in this. Additionally, O.U.R was aware that Ballard's unlawful tactics when its general counsel sent a scathing reprimand of Ballard based upon entrapment issues on one of his ops, which Ballard rejected out of hand. In May of 2023, Sound of Freedom received a release date of July 4th, 2023. People in the movie industry who knew Ballard came forward to defendant Angel Studios, urging them to be very careful in dealing with Ballard, as he was already known as a fraud to many. I saw that you were distributing Sound of Freedom. O.U.R has been under investigation for a while. Last I heard in December, they were still at least. I don't want it to hurt Angel Studios. I hope you're doing awesome. Hugs. That was to Liz Ellis, Angel Studios COO. April 12th, 2023. Jeff Harmon to former operative. Hi, Blank. I'd love to meet up at your earliest convenience. Sure thing. I could meet tomorrow sometime before 2 if that works. Thanks for connecting us. I could probably meet between 10 a.m. and noon, Zoom or in person. And then this other one says screener for 24 hours. It has 2 views. Thanks so much. I will watch it tonight. Oh, they're just okay. To Jeff Harmon. I'm really not sure about releasing the film. Sounds like you're already moving forward with it next week. I didn't find it to be factual in the least, and those pieces that were maybe some ounce of truth were so exaggerated. I'm sad to see how it painted Tim as Superman. I think he's a total fraud and misguided. I heard there will be new accusations soon, possibly from another country. He has ran around with some bad people and done things in the name of God. I think this movie is so well done and shot so nicely. I understand that you would want to have the relation with the filmmakers too. They are so talented. I hope it doesn't backfire on Angel Studios because I hope your intentions are good. I wish you the best and hope charges are dropped and investigations are finished soon so you don't have to face a messy situation. Thanks for sharing the film with me. So they were well aware, which we all knew. May 1st, 2023, Jeff Harmon text. I understand the concerns. We have gone very, very deep on the allegations. We are satisfied we can go forward. Lots of news on on that front coming soon. As for the film, we will have lots of blog posts talking about what's real and what's dramatized. In the documentary footage from each of the rescues the film was based on. That sounds great. Good to hear. The investigation was dropped. That's great. In the spring of 2023, at the same time the release of Sound of Freedom, a female employee of O.U.R. had been on these couple of ruse ops or practices came forward to O.U.R. management. The text between Ballard and this woman showed that Ballard was a two-faced liar who was engaging in an adulterous grooming relationship. O.U.R. had its own law firm, Holland and Hart, conduct an external investigation, which investigation verified the victim's claims. That's what I don't understand, how anybody is even defending him. Their own law firm determined that these allegations were true and factual. I don't even. O.U.R. was set to terminate Tim Ballard. The Nazarene Fund also terminated Ballard. That's the first that's been said. Furthermore, in a twist of horrible irony, Paul Hutchinson's wife, Rossio, was charged with being a pedophile and is required to wear an ankle monitor. The timing could not have been worse for Angel Studios, as it has gotten thousands of investors into Sound of Freedom. O.U.R. was afraid of litigation with Angel Studios, and O.U.R. expected to raise money from the Sound of Freedom. A joint plan was hatched whereby Ballard would resign, ostensibly because of the appearance of a conflict of interest with the release of the Sound of Freedom, and he would take a very lucrative severance agreement and remain the face of O.U.R. so it could continue to raise money. As part of the plan, everyone was required to sign an NDA. With his image intact, Ballard moved to the Spear Fund, where he is able to continue raising money from well-intentioned people wanting to end human trafficking. Defendant Angel Studios was aware of these allegations against Tim Ballard for fraud, deceit, and sexual assault on multiple women, but it did not halt the release of the movie The Sound of Freedom in order to determine whether Tim Ballard was who he is claimed to be. Defendant Angel Studios did not adequately perform a fact check, if any were done at all, about how it portrayed Plaintiff Kelly in the movie, or about how inaccurate the movie promotional materials were about the Plaintiff Kelly. Instead, defendant Angel Studios doubled down on using Tim Ballard's image as a hero going forward with the premiere of Sound of Freedom. Angel Studios has doubled down on Plaintiff Kelly's image, again painting her as a monster child trafficker rather than one who had been trafficked by Tim Ballard for his personal gain and fame. Giselle. In the film's opening scene, a character named Giselle, inspired by Kelly Johanna Suarez, a former beauty pageant queen and model known as Miss Cartagena, deceived a young girl and her brother. Suarez exploited her reputation in a poverty-stricken neighborhood to recruit children for sex trafficking, betraying their trust by selling them into a trade. O.U.R. has doubled down on Plaintiff Kelly, calling her nothing short of a monster, in hopes that people who went to see The Sound of Freedom would increase its donations to O.U.R. Is Giselle a real person? Here's another post. Operation Underground Railroad from July 18th. Giselle is based on a real person, true. At the start of the film, it shows a woman named Giselle recruiting a young girl and her brother for what the children's father believes is a modeling opportunity. The character of Giselle is loosely based on a woman named Kelly Johanna Suarez, a former beauty pageant queen and professional model in her early 20s known as Miss Cartagena, who really did recruit and traffic children using her credentials in Colombia. Suarez's reputation in her home of Barrio, a poor neighborhood in the south of Cartagena, made her an effective recruiter for young girls and boys for sex trafficking. Her trusted role as a leader in her impoverished community was gained through her former beauty pageant experience and social work studies. Beneath the surface, Suarez was nothing short of a monster. She used her good standing and credibility to lure children away from their families with promises of making them successful models, but instead she sold them into the booming sex trade. We hope that everyone can experience this powerful movie. Although none of the profits go to O.U.R, you can still make an impact. Visit our website at, oh my God. Rather than tell the donors that Tim Ballard was a sexual predator, O.U.R remained silent, using his face in the worldwide opening tour of The Sound of Freedom to raise money and allowing Ballard to continue his grooming, drinking, and sexual deviancy, all on the donor's dime. Rather than turn Ballard into the police for his criminal conduct, O.U.R paid Ballard $618,000 and gave him a Jeep Grand Cherokee to resign from O.U.R. Oh, so it went from $14 million to $618,000, allegedly. So he was at least given $618,000. And they're claiming they're on the verge of bankruptcy. Sounds like a bad situation for them. Not our problem. Rather than stop the distribution of the movie Sound of Freedom as it glorifies a sex abuser and a fraud and destroys an innocent bystander in the plaintiff Kelly, Angel Studios instead confirmed that The Sound of Freedom would be released in 23 international markets throughout 2023. Angel Studios started promoting the red carpet premiere of Sound of Freedom on August 12th, 2023 at the Sinopolis Plaza Claro in near Bogota. The film was released in UAE on August 17th, in South Africa, Iceland, and Lithuania on August 18th, and Australia and New Zealand on August 24th. Other countries where the film was shown include Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, I can't even talk, Belize, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Bolivia, Chile, Peru, Ecuador, Costa Rica, Croatia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Serbia on August 31st. Hold on, you guys. Babe, will you give him things? In order to make the movie believable, Ballard and Angel Studios flew Pedro across South America, promoting him as a survivor of the island raid. On September 15th, 2023, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints publicly denounced Ballard for his immoral behavior. Defendant Ballard, in an attempt to save his quickly deflating reputation, obtained a letter from his bishop of his congregation of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to show the press and the Catholic Speakers Organization that he was in good standing with the church. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Cedar Pass Ward, September 17th, 2023. After meeting with Tim Ballard, I find him in good standing with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Bishop Les Eldridge. The bishop later revoked the letter. Here is from Les. In light of the official statement issued by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, issued on Friday, September 15th, 2023, I'm resending the letter I shared with you on Sunday, 9/17/2023. Therefore, you are not authorized to use the letter as an endorsement of good standing for Tim to any organization. Please wait on this text. We know the church is fixing that unauthorized statement. Based on the official nature of the church's statement, I am unable to authorize my letter's use and need to resend it. Okay, we will go higher up for that endorsement. Thanks. Mark Scott, the former CEO of O.U.R. and former Bishop of Ballard, attempted to intervene on Ballard's behalf by going above Bishop's head. However, Ballard was excommunicated by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints shortly thereafter. This did not deter Angel Studios as it raked in millions from The Sound of Freedom, a movie that focuses on an alleged sex abuser, adulterer, drug-addicted faux child rescuer has been excommunicated from the very community Angel Studios panders to for donation and investors. The film was released in the Philippines on September 20th, as well as the United Kingdom and Ireland and in Spain on October 11th, 2023. On that same day, the Spear Fund Ballard and his wife, Catherine Ballard, issued a public statement calling plaintiff Kelly an evil, conspiring trafficker. The Ballard family and the Spear Fund issue statement on anniversary of historic island rescue in Colombia. The Spear Fund, an organization funding and defending efforts to end child trafficking in our time, is releasing a statement on behalf of senior advisor Tim Ballard and his wife Catherine. It was 9 years ago today that 120 women and children were rescued from evil and conspiring traffickers on the remote island in Colombia, as depicted in the hit movie Sound of Freedom. What started out as a way to filter bosoms, blood, and bad words, movies, and shows had devolved into Angel Studios paying for Tim Ballard to attend the premieres of the movie across the world, where he hobnobbed with the uneducated, rich, and famous, and had press conferences where he could further spread his origin myth. The most devastating of these premieres to Plaintiff Kelly was in Colombia. Billboards and posters showed Plaintiff Kelly, aka the Queen of Cartagena, alongside the actress that played her in the movie. Plaintiff Kelly's life was again turned upside down as people began calling her names, sending her hate mail, and shunning her. Can we just talk about how absolutely stunningly beautiful this woman is and brave? Plaintiff Kelly has been extremely traumatized by the additional new negative publicity, which has led her to attend psychotherapy. Plaintiff Kelly is afraid to go out in public, and her reputation has again been ruined by the untruths and frauds of the defendants. Plaintiff Kelly has never been convicted of anything and remains presumptively innocent. However, despite knowing that Ballard is the actual monster in this terrible ordeal, Angel Studios released The Sound of Freedom on Prime Video on December 26, 2023, giving anyone across the world access to the lies and misappropriations about Plaintiff Kelly. Plaintiff Kelly incorporates the preceding allegations and attachments to this complaint as fully set forth herein. Defendants have published statements about Plaintiff Kelly which were false and defamatory and not privileged. Had defendants reviewed the known publicly available information about Plaintiff Kelly's involvement with Operation Triple Take, it would have known that their statements in the movie about Plaintiff Kelly were false. The statements and information were published negligently and or with actual malice in order for defendants to make staggering amounts of money at the expense of Plaintiff Kelly and her life in Colombia. Defendants had actual knowledge the statements were false and had entertained serious doubts as to whether the statements were true. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, Plaintiff Kelly has suffered incarceration, criminal prosecution, legal fees, severe emotional distress, permanent injury, loss of self-esteem, or other injuries, all to general damages in reasonable sums. This is absolutely disgusting. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, Plaintiff Kelly has incurred and will yet incur medical and therapy expenses and lost wages, all to special damages in a reasonable sum. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, punitive damages in a reasonable sum should be awarded. Plaintiff Kelly incorporates the preceding allegations and attachments to this complaint as it's fully set herein. Defendants have published statements about Plaintiff Kelly which were false, defamatory, not privileged, claiming that even after she graduated from law school with no conviction and a court record demonstrating she had no involvement in any trafficking, that she was nothing less than a child trafficking monster. Defendant Ballard knew from the very beginning that Plaintiff Kelly was not aware of the 3 meetings where Operation Triple Take was planned, yet he has testified she was at the meetings. Had the other defendants reviewed the known publicly available information about Plaintiff Kelly's involvement with Operation Triple Take, it would have been known that their statements in the movie were false about the Plaintiff Kelly. These statements and information were published negligently and or with actual malice in order for defendants to make staggering amounts of money at the expense of Plaintiff Kelly and her life in Colombia. Defendants had actual knowledge that the statements were false, had entertained serious doubts as to whether the statements were true. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, Plaintiff Kelly's career has suffered, given that she has suffered incarceration, criminal prosecution, legal fees, severe emotional distress, permanent injury, loss of self-esteem, and other injuries, all to general damages in reasonable sums. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, Plaintiff Kelly has incurred and will yet incur medical and therapy expenses and lost wages, all to special damages in a reasonable sum. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, punitive damages in a reasonable sum should be awarded. Plaintiff Kelly incorporates the preceding allegations and attachments to this complaint as if fully set forth herein, and more specifically. Defendants intentionally interfered with both Plaintiff Kelly's present and future economic relationship that Plaintiff Kelly had by branding her as a beauty queen child trafficker who traded her fame and influence to traffic children. Defendants did so by improper means by framing her and claiming that she is a child predator and a monster. As a direct and proximate result of wrongful conduct of defendants, plaintiff Kelly's career has suffered, given that she has suffered incarceration, criminal prosecution, legal fees, severe emotional distress, permanent injury, loss of self-esteem, and other injuries, all to general damages and reasonable sums. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, plaintiff Kelly has incurred and will yet incur medical and therapy expenses, all lost wages to special damages in a reasonable sum. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, punitive damages in a reasonable sum should be awarded. Okay, goes on to say almost the exact same thing. 345 is the conduct of defendants that, as set forth herein, was outrageous and intolerable in that it offended the generally accepted standards of decency and morality. Talks again about how she suffered. We saw that. As direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, plaintiff Lou's life and emotions have suffered greatly as she has watched her only daughter be wrongfully incarcerated, criminally prosecuted, paying legal fees, visiting her daughter in prison day after day, week after week, month after month until she was released, and then having her be re-traumatized by the reckless release of Sound of Freedom. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, plaintiffs have incurred and will yet incur medical and therapy expenses and all lost wages due to special damages in a reasonable sum. Plaintiffs incorporate the preceding allegations and attachments to this complaint as fully set forth herein. The conduct of the defendants as set forth herein was negligent and reckless and violated standards of care required of NGOs and media. As a direct and proximate result of the wrongful conduct of defendants, plaintiff Kelly's career has suffered, given that she has suffered incarceration, criminal prosecution, legal fees, severe emotional distress, permanent injury, loss of self-esteem, other injuries, all to her general damages and reasonable sums. Okay. I think we've read most of this is the same. Let me continue on just to make sure. The sixth course of action, pretty much the same. It says defendants in both its printed publicity and in the movie Sound of Freedom of their portrayal of Plaintiff Kelly is highly offensive and has exposed Plaintiff Kelly to hatred, contempt, or ridicule in the public eye. Had defendants reviewed documents about Plaintiff Kelly's lack of involvement with Operation Triple Take, which documents are a public record and open to public inspection, they would have known that the claims about Plaintiff Kelly are false. And it goes on to talk about, again, damages, seventh course of action. Defendants in both its printed publicity and the Sound of Freedom of their portrayal of Plaintiff Kelly used Plaintiff Kelly's name, likeness, erroneously and in order to earn money, which has exposed Plaintiff Kelly to hatred, contempt, or ridicule in the public eye. Okay. It's basically saying the same things. Let me check. So they're asking for general damages and amount to be proved at trial, for special damages and amount to be proved at trial, for punitive damages against all defendants in an amount sufficient to punish them and deter them and others in similar situations from engaging in such conduct in the future, for an immediate removal, for such other costs, interest, expenses, attorney's fees, and other relief court fines appropriate under the circumstances. They need to pull that fucking movie. Sorry, but we need to start demanding that they pull that movie. Okay, y'all, we're going to pull up another one here. Okay, so that's the file. That is the full lawsuit that was filed, but let me pull up the exhibits. Thank you again, Lurker. I was honestly, I was so disturbed I couldn't even get the words out to properly identify how I was feeling in that moment or what I was talking about. This is so disturbing. Did any of you guys know that this had been dropped or that this lawsuit had happened? Any of you guys aware of this? I'm sure a lot of people aren't, because this is 18 months. Erie. This just happened Friday. This just got dropped Friday. Okay, so Exhibit A, there's 146 pages to this, you guys. So I'm going to probably scroll through. We might do a second part to get through the exhibits because there's 2 files of exhibits. So let's look at this. Let's see what we got here. Let me zoom in for you guys. Sorry, the neighbor's dog is out here. I could go back in, but thank you all for joining me on this. This is a lot to process. My heart just breaks for this victim and her family. Like, I can't even imagine. This was honestly one of my worries. So this is warrant requested. So this is showing the undersigned Special Agent James Pettis of the Utah Attorney General's Office states on information and belief that the defendant, Candace Alessandra Laird, either directly or as party committed the crimes of pattern of unlawful activity, a second-degree felony in violation of the Utah from September 2020 through September 2023 in Utah County. The Utah defendant did not receive any proceeds derived, whether directly or indirectly, from a pattern of unlawful activity in which the defendant has participated as a principal, and defendant did use or invest directly or indirectly any part of that income or the proceeds of the income or the proceeds derived from an investment, or use those proceeds in the acquisition of any interest in the establishment or operation of any enterprise. Communications fraud, count 2. Count 3 is communications fraud, 2 second-degree felonies. 4th is a second-degree felony for communications fraud. You can read all this if you'd like. 5th is communications fraud. 6 is theft. 7 is theft. 8 is theft. 9 is theft. 10 theft. 11 theft. Second-degree felonies. 12, 13. 12 is a second-degree felony. 13 is a third-degree felony. 14 is theft again. 15 is theft by deception. 16 is theft of service. 17 is identity fraud. 18 is identity fraud. Holy shit. 19 is forgery, a third-degree felony. Hold on. I need to go back up for a second. Hold on. Who is this again? One of the officers that was involved with these guys? Huh. Okay, let's continue on. Let's look at this. So there's the warrant that was issued. Let's continue to look and see. So it goes through, holy shit, there's 31 counts. I'm a special agent for the Utah Office of Attorney General assigned to the Special Investigations Unit. I'm certified as a law enforcement officer through the Utah Peace Officer Standards and Training since my hire in October 2022. I have over 12 years of service in law enforcement and serving as a police officer, criminal investigator, and sergeant of the police for the city of Racine, Wisconsin Police Department, where I was certified as a peace officer by the Wisconsin Law Enforcement and Standards Board in 2010, and a law enforcement instructor beginning in 2017. I earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science from St. Xavier University in 2010 and served as an adjunct instructor of criminal justice at Gateway Technical College in Kenosha, Wisconsin. As a criminal investigator, I have served as a lead or support investigator on cases involving property crime, misappropriation, and theft of private and public funds, identity theft, crimes against financial institutions, and fraud. The defendant has engaged in a pattern of unlawful activity, including, among other things, the crimes of communications fraud, theft by deception, theft of services, identity fraud, forgery, and unlawful conduct, and her alleged criminal activities were referred for investigation. On June 15th, 2023, I was assigned to investigate allegations of fraudulent financial activity relating to Exodus, a Utah nonprofit corporation at 3543 West 1700 North Lehi, Utah. Candace Laird, date of birth 8/23/86, formerly known as Candace Riviera. I located a webpage for Exodus as well as a website for CR House and Company, an apparent business being ran by Candace, and a site in which Candace offers paid services. Exodus website lists Candace R as the founder of an anti-human trafficking organization. Exodus is identified as a nonprofit organization with an EIN listed at the bottom of the website. Exodus was soliciting donations on their website at the time of the review. I also identified Facebook and Instagram pages belonging to Exodus. Both social media profiles appeared to record and request money for the organization's activities in orphan rescues in Europe. I observed that Exodus was a registered business in Utah from August 7th, 2020 until its expiration for failure to file renewal on December 27th, 2022. The corporate filings listed Candace and JB as directors of Exodus. Okay, hold on. We're going to get where it links here. CR House and Company is represented as a branding house established in 2020 by CEO founder Candace Riviera. The site offers several paid services and is reported to have been featured on major networks like CNN, Fox News, and BBC, among others. I observed no business filings by CR House and Company in Utah. CR House webpage also contained a link to a series of 8 podcasts titled Welcome to My House with Candace Riviera. One of those podcasts, entitled John Lines, described Candace and Exodus anti-human trafficking efforts during an NBA All-Star weekend in Salt Lake City. During that podcast, it was revealed that Exodus became officially involved in the United States Department of Homeland Security's investigations anti-human trafficking task force as a victim service provider. Upon review, I observed a photo of Candace on the website's main page. The site offered services for speaking, coaching, and consulting classes, and DE&I and business dev. I compared a photo of Candace R and Candace Riviera from the Join Exodus org websites to known UCJIS photograph of Candace Laird and was able to confirm the identity of Candace Riviera and Candace R as Candace Laird. I did confirm that Candace was charged with felony fraud in the Provo branch of the 4th District Court related to an $8,000 fraudulent check written to a vendor for services rendered during a 2022 event hosted by Exodus. All right. She's got a link here somewhere. Hold on. On June 29th, I was present in the 4th District courtroom when Candace's felony fraudulent check case was called before Honorable Judge Christine Johnson. I observed Candace attend the hearing via WebEx. Candace stated that she has split her time between Utah and South Carolina due to requirements of her work and was appearing via WebEx because she was out of state. I was able to affirm the identity of the person appearing in 4th District Court on the felony case, and the person depicted on the aforementioned websites was that of the same individual, Candace Laird. Utilizing open source records, I located a probable address for Candace in Utah, Texas, New Jersey, Alaska, and Colorado. Queries of Utah's Department of Professional Licensing revealed no record of Candace ever being licensed as a nurse practitioner, medical doctor, or registered nurse in the state of Utah. I did observe 4 separate applications to become a registered nurse in Utah under Candace's name. All 4 were denied. One of the denied applications was listed as being reviewed under Interstate Compact. This denied application listed Candace as a graduate of Nightingale College of Nursing with an associate degree in nursing in April 24th, 2015. Upon searching equivalent licensing bodies in Texas, New Jersey, Alaska, and Colorado, I located no record of Candace being licensed as a nurse practitioner, medical doctor, registered nurse in these states. A search of NERC's National Nurse License Verification Database revealed no record of Candace ever holding a license as a registered nurse in any state. During this investigation, current and former board members listed on Exodus corporate filings were interviewed. It was discovered that no person except Candace had access to Exodus Mountain American Credit Union or JP Morgan Chase bank accounts. Each Exodus board or staff member interviewed understood the Exodus mission to relate to anti-human trafficking or overseas orphan rescues and human trafficking victim services. No member recalled permitting, approving, voting for, or otherwise granting Candace authority to draw a salary from Exodus business accounts. The board also did not approve or permit Candace to withdraw large sums of cash from Exodus accounts for any purpose other than to conduct Exodus business. No board member, either individually or as a board, ever approved or permitted Candace to use Exodus funds or Exodus bank accounts towards the purchase of her home or vehicle. In 2019, MP met Candace while consulting at Operation Underground Railroad. MP, who founded Exodus with Candace in 2020 and served as its chief operating officer, recalled being told by Candace that she was a nurse practitioner. MP, who also works as a physician assistant and studied at the University of Utah, became suspicious of Candace after noticing discrepancies with what funds Candace said the Exodus Mountain America Credit Union account should contain and what was present in the account at the time. MP was granted access to the account. MP looked for Candace's credentials on Doppel and found that she was not licensed as a nurse practitioner. MP eventually resigned from the board of directors at Exodus. From September 2020 to date, Candace misrepresented herself as a licensed registered nurse, medical doctor, and nurse practitioner. Candace falsely stated that she held a position with the United Nations and was featured on BBC News. Candace also falsely asserted that she was a successful business owner who had founded several multi-million-dollar companies. Candace leveraged her fraudulent representations to gain the confidence of founding partners, board members, medical professionals, volunteers, media companies, benevolent organizations, and individual donors to establish the enterprise of Exodus as a nonprofit organization and generate funds under the enterprise's name. Candace's representations of her credentials and professional positions also encouraged partnerships with law enforcement agencies and extraordinarily handling of law enforcement calls to which she was party. Okay. Based on the misleading and fraudulent representation made by Candace, the Exodus Nonprofit Corporation raised more than $1,697,000 in donations since its founding in 2020. Between individual donors, corporate donations, external wire transfers from foreign business to Exodus bank accounts, unknown wire transfers to Exodus bank accounts, Venmo donations, PayPal donations, Square payment processing, and Stripe payment processing. In addition, Candace used false representation that she was a licensed registered nurse, medical doctor, and or nurse practitioner in her founding of Exodus as a vehicle to generate business in her private ventures, establishing the enterprise of C.R. House and Company, where she entered business contracts with at least two individuals totaling $8,702.55 in revenue and $29,600 in unsettled payments. Okay. On or about November 2021, Candace contacted TS to solicit renting his home at 2696 in Lehigh. Candace told TS that she was a nurse practitioner and founder of Exodus. TS remembered looking through the Exodus website and seeing Candace's name and picture as well as position of a nurse practitioner. TS agreed to rent the property to Candace based on her false representation. Candace later defaulted on a rental agreement with TS, resulting in unpaid rent of $128,574. Holy shit. How does it get? Okay. On or about September 2020, Candace entered into a residential rental agreement with WC for the property owned at 5292 in Lehigh. The property was managed by WC's partner 76-year-old mother, CO. Candace requested to view and rent the property on the weekend when WC was out of town. WC recalled Candace communicating that she worked for the FBI and could not share information about her employment without a release from her supervisor. WC reasoned that such a release could not be obtained over the weekend and elected to rent the property to Candace at that time. WC was given a check for a rental deposit and first month's rent. Both checks bounced when attempting to deposit. CO, now 82 years of age, stated that Candace told CO that Candace worked for the FBI and could not reveal the details of her work because everything she did was secret. Over her several years as a leasing agent, CO recalled that this was the first time she encountered a person who did secret work for the government, which forbade the disclosure of Candace purported work. CO stated that Candace reported employment made her qualified to rent WC's home and executed a lease agreement on a weekend when WC was out of town. During Candace's tenancy, which lasted until November 2021, WC stated that he served Candace with anywhere from 9 to 12 pay or quit notices or notices to vacate. WC eventually filed an eviction case with the Fourth District Court. WC noted that Candace effectively squatted at his property for about 6 months. A Fourth District Court judgment resolved the issue of Candace's squatting. WC is owed approximately $10,000 for damage done to the property upon Candace's eviction. There is no record of Candace being employed by the FBI. Holy shit. On or about February 2022, Candace asked to take part as a speaker at a conference for widows hosted by Disneyland by CP. Candace leveraged her background as a claimed human trafficking expert who had been featured on several well-known news outlets, including BBC seat holder on the UN Collaborative Task Force and CEO and founder of 3 multi-million-dollar companies, to secure a spot on a panel discussing grief. These false claims impressed CP, who entered into a business contract with Candace. CP's husband paid Candace $8,702 to market CP's book about the FLDS. Candace's solicitation of his business contract included authoring the foreword for CP's book, marketing the book, and sales of the book. Candace told CP that she works with and has known SB, a prominent private investigator who focuses on matters of the FLDS in Cedar City, Utah, for years, and could introduce CP at the Holding Out Hope event. Candace assured CP that she obtained tickets for CP and 3 guests to the March 2023 Holding Out Help event. Kathy, are you still in here? Isn't that the organization you just asked me about? On March 7th, 2023, CP attended the Holding Out Help event in Draper, Utah. Upon the arrival of CP, her husband, son, and daughter-in-law, CP learned that not only had Candace not obtained tickets for CP, but Candace had lied and did not know SB. Contact with ST, HR business partner at BBC Studios North America and Latin America, revealed that no record of Candace or Exodus appearance on their channels has ever been cataloged by the BBC. Communication with SR, Senior Policy Advisor of Conduct and Disciplinary Service, Administrative Law Division, Department of Management, Strategy, Policy, and Compliance at the United Nations, revealed that Candace is not a part of the UN staff member. Contact with SB revealed that Candace attempted to call SB by phone after meeting him at an Attorney General Alliance Summit on anti-human trafficking in Park City, Utah, between January 11th and 13th, 2023. Contrary to the assertions made by Candace to CP, SB has not known Candace for years and does not work with her. POA has known Candace for approximately 5 years as a friend. POA began as a volunteer with Exodus in 2020 and has been an employee of Exodus and Candace's personal assistant since 2021. Okay. On or about July 2023, POA stated that she was informed by Candace that she was denied a JP Morgan Chase Bank credit card for Exodus under Candace's own name. POA recalled this denial, upsetting Candace. POA noted that she had not been paid by Exodus for several weeks during this time and was told by Candace that a credit account needed to be established in order to pay POA for her work. On or about August 2023, Candace called POA on a 3-way telephone call with a JP Morgan Chase Bank representative. POA provided her personal identifying information to the JP Morgan Chase representative to establish a credit card account for Exodus in POA's name, but noted that she did not sign any documents and did not receive a card from JP Morgan Chase. POA stated her belief that in order to receive several weeks of missed paychecks, she would need to help Candace establish a credit account for Exodus. POA believes that Exodus JP Morgan Chase credit card in POA's name was mailed to Candace's home address. On September 1st, 2023, POA received a telephone call from JP Morgan Chase Bank Fraud Department. She was informed that a total of $19,000 had been spent on an Exodus credit card bearing POA's name and wanted to confirm the charges. Among the charges posted to the credit account was approximately $7,000 to purchase a vehicle at Assay Automotive, Venmo, and various cash advances. POA stated that she did not make any of these purchases, but noted that Candace recently purchased a Toyota 4Runner for her eldest son from Assay Auto and made a social media post memorializing this purchase. POA was told by JP Morgan staff that the application for a credit card may be fraudulent itself. Okay. Following interviews with SWM POA in a review of JP Morgan Chase Bank records with Exodus, it was discovered that Candace exerted sole control over the JP Morgan Chase Exodus account, and no Exodus board members knew or ratified Candace's sole control or withdrawals. As of September 12th, 2023, POA is owed $4,500 from 6 missed paychecks for 3 total weeks of unpaid work. Okay, now it goes into theft by embezzlement. Let me see where we're at here. If you want to read all this, you can. I just want to get to the part where it links it up. There's a lot here. Like, she did a whole lot of stuff. But, hold on. There's so much here. So she has links to O.U.R, but let me see where it goes. Okay, they're bringing in other companies now. I'm trying to go through this slowly, so if anybody wants to go back and read it, they can. Holy shit, she's got a lot of fucking charges, y'all. She was involved with adoption agencies, too. Open Hearts for Orphans. Holy shit. On January 4th, 2021, Candace is featured in a video presentation for the BYU Anti-Human Trafficking Club video wherein Candace states she is a nurse practitioner and founder of Exodus. Candace is not licensed as a nurse practitioner in Utah or any other state, a nurse practitioner, blah, blah, blah. Okay, on or about April 2023, Candace solicited the assistance of Utah registered nurse SS to assist in coordinating the medical transport of an orphan in Ukraine to an adoptive family in the United States. Candace told SS that she was a nurse practitioner. Candace gave SS medical directives for the care of the child. Candace provided SS with controlled substances and a medical kit, which included ketamine and Haldol. SS later discovered that Candace was not a nurse practitioner and provided messages between SS and staff of Global Adoption Services relating to additional misrepresentations about Candace's license and practice nursing. Holy shit. Okay, this just took a whole life of its own on this one. Hold on. Let me see. Let me go back up here. Hold on. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm going to leave you on that screen for a moment because I want to look at something. Because that goes into... Hold on. Let me scroll up here. How that fits with this is right here. It's in... Let me find it. Give me 1 second. Sorry. I swear, the crazier stuff that happens in Utah, the worse it gets. I'm pretty sure it said there was a side note here for... Oh, right here. Okay. This is where it fits. You guys can see that right there, okay? So this is back to the lawsuit, the main text of the lawsuit. It says Reyes was put on an O.U.R.'s advisory team whereby he would run interference for Ballard, ignoring glaring signs of fraud and corruption in O.U.R. and instead diverting investigative efforts to other nonprofits, charging and incarcerating without bail other nonprofit operators who may have been doing illegal things, but were which in comparison to O.U.R., similar to O.U.R. So this is the indictment that they included in the Exhibit A, showing that he indicted somebody else doing the exact same thing. There was connections to them, but this was their example. This is why they're doing that, is because it was similar time frame, similar things that were happening, but they refused. General Reyes was refusing to look at O.U.R. even though they were doing very similar things, involved in a lot of the similar organizations, all of the same similar things, but Tim Ballard was never fully investigated. That's why they're looking at it. No, it doesn't look like they're involved, Kathy. It just all of those names in the Utah like 501c, all of them connect pretty much. But I just wanted to show you guys why this is all connected. But this is a huge, like, this goes on and on and on. Like I'm saying, like they spared no expense investigating this, which they should have. I mean, absolutely, this was, but very similar things. Like, hold on, let me go back up. It's 20 pages of investigation on this organization, but none for Ballard. Come on now. So then it goes on. So once again, they can see that very similar things were going on and being investigated. I'm not going to be able to read this because it's in Spanish. More exhibits, though. So this was her habeas corpus declaration and filed in favor of Miss Kelly. I can't read all of it. Sorry. Again, Exhibit C. Again, Spanish. These are all the exhibits, so that they will go through. Thankfully, they will have somebody that's bilingual in their office to translate all this stuff, because I sure as hell cannot. That is not something I am credentialed at. Okay, Exhibit D. Let's look at that. Oh, Spanish again. So there's just a ton of information attached to this. That's going to be really hard to overcome for General Reyes, though. He was investigating other 501cs that were doing very similar things, in fact, with way more money, and refused to investigate that Ballard, and it helped shut down Davis. Oh, sorry, guys. Dogs are out here. Gonna get everybody in the neighborhood barking. But they have so many. I don't know if there's any of these that I can read. Oh, wait, what's this one? Oh. This is Cartagena, 17 years old. This is some of their evaluation. I'll post all of this, so if you guys want to go through it and read it all, you can. I'll put that in. I'll add it to a Google Drive, and you guys can look through it if you would like to. But these are all just her supporting exhibits. This is a statement of Pedro Flores. My deposit date is June 8th, 1997. On October 11th, I was 17 years old. Lived with his parents. He was informed by Facebook where there was going to be a party where North Americans would be present. This Facebook ad also said that if you had sex with one of the Americans, you would be paid 1 million Colombian pesos, and that all transportation, boat ride, food, and alcohol would be included. This Facebook ad also said if you decided not to have sex with one of the Americans, you would be paid 400,000 Colombian pesos to attend the party, and that all transportation, boat rides, food, and alcohol would be included. Based on that invitation, I decided to attend the party to be paid 400,000 pesos Colombians to attend the party with free transportation, boat ride, food, and alcohol. We went to the party with no intention of having sex with anyone, including ourselves, as we were underage. Before the party on October 11th, 2014, I did not know Kelly Suarez, neither privately nor publicly, as some supposed beauty queen of Cartagena. At no time did Kelly Suarez invite me to the party or promise me money. Prior to October 11th, 2014, she had never been sexually trafficked, but for victim of sexual abuse by a neighbor prior to October 11th, 2014. However, after we arrived at the party, the American women locked us in a room, and things became very frightening and traumatic. The Americans then began to call us one by one to get to know the island where the party was being held, and let the pedophiles see us and decide with whom they wanted to have sex. I was very scared because at the moment I realized that I, along with others, including minors, were being trafficked for sexual purposes. Finally, before any sexual contact could be achieved, the Colombian militants came and again locked us in a room, which was very frightening and traumatic experience. After feeling the horrors of being trafficked on October 11, 2014, I decided to start an aftercare program for sex trafficking survivors known as Weaving Dreams. That is the one. This is, yeah, I'll get into that a whole nother. Weaving Dreams has worked hand in hand with the support of Operation Underground Railroad. Operation Underground Railroad sent grants for my care programs. So that's Pedro's statement. And he did a live stream with not long ago talking about O.U.R and Janet Roussan. Janet Roussan was present too. This just makes me sad. That was done on the last dispensation page. I shared it in my community tab a few days ago. This is all in Spanish. I can't read it. Sorry. But this is all their exhibits and statements and court records and stuff of what they allege in this lawsuit. Anyways, you guys, let's see what this says. This is the Elkin, the officer that was charged with corruption and has a warrant out for his corruption. This is about him. So everything that they said is backed up with exhibits. There's one after another after another. This lawsuit's going to be interesting to watch go on. This should be so much more a criminal prosecution than a civil at this point, from my take on it. This is ridiculous. Again, if you want to read all this, I will provide it. I will save all this to a Google Drive and upload it for you guys. This is so frustrating. So here's more stuff about him with his corruption. Let's see what else is in here. That's all about Elkin. This is all about Elkin. So they tell me how they find the most corrupt individuals to work with. Okay, this is exhausting. I can't even imagine what these people have gone through. So that's all about Elkin. All of that is Elkin stuff. All right, y'all, we're going to save the other ones. Let me look and see what the other exhibits show. Hold on. I just feel sick. Reading all of this just makes me so aggravated. And they have a similar case where Sean Reyes was investigating, but shocking, he never once investigated O.U.R. God. I don't know how that man has a job still. This is too much. Too much. Okay, we'll look at those. I'll look at those and see if there's anything that I can read out of them. I don't think there is. Most of it's in Spanish, so I can't read it, but I think you guys get the gist of this. This is going to be a very important one to watch because this includes all of them, and it should. Whoops, I just kicked myself out. I know, Heidi, I know. I want to learn Spanish, though. That's something I do want to learn. I definitely do. Mm-hmm. I do. That is definitely something. Yeah, because Exhibit H, the next set, is 157 pages, y'all. Oh, they've got him speaking before. Oh, shit. they've got the transcript of him speaking before Congress and what he said about the raid and everything. We'll go through this. We'll go through this one at another time. I need to take a break. This was a lot to process. A lot to process. I know, Oz. It is so much to absorb. It is honestly like my brain hurts because I just feel for these victims, like every one of them. And then they manipulated the victims like they were doing something good, and they pay. In my opinion, again, nothing against Pedro, because I feel for him because he was set up just like Kelly, in my opinion. But they paid them to remain quiet, and now Pedro is being brought on the last dispensation. He was the one that was brought on that podcast for that slime ball that's trying to prove Tim Ballard as this hero and amazing man. There's so much to absorb in this. And how this movie is still being promoted as decent. Unfucking believable. Unbelievable. Anybody have any questions? You want me to go back to anything before I head out? Want me to show you anything else on this? I will have to break it down a little bit more. I just wanted to read through it though, because this is, I truly, like, I don't even have the words. And to see people still saying that this movie is so impactful and does so good. Yeah, Heidi's Mind, it really is. Like, it is from all angles. It's just bad. Bad, bad, bad. I don't know. Too much to even process. All right, y'all. Oh, Oz, thank you, Crusha, for becoming a member. Welcome to the jungle. We've got fun and games. I'll get these in a Google Drive for you guys and then load them for you guys so you can have them. The first 4. Yeah, I saw that, Tracy. I want to look into that and pull more about that, how that came about, because Paul is also the one that allegedly groped the young girl when they were doing one of the rescues. They claim that initially it was claimed that she was 16. Other people have came out and said that she was 18, that they have documentation proving that she was 18 when he groped her. Again, you're dealing with corrupt government officials that, in my opinion, would say something. Paul's got a lot of money. Paul is very, very, very wealthy. Very wealthy. He also has a trafficking nonprofit, an anti-trafficking nonprofit. So to see that his wife, or hear that, when I read that the first time, when I read through it, I was like, wait, what? So I'm going to try to find the documents behind that and how that happened, because that still kind of shocks me. And I'm wondering the source of that. What I'm honestly struggling with is, how is this not a criminal investigation? How are we not seeing a criminal investigation into all of this? The funds, the entrapment. I mean, you're dealing with third world countries too, but what about I don't know. There's just so much to this that I can't believe that this has been overlooked like this for so long. No clue. It's absolutely maddening. All right. Sorry to hit you guys with the lot on a Sunday. But I was going to talk about this yesterday, never got to it. And then I've been trying to make a game plan about how I'm going to go about the victim story. I need to make a TikTok and bug Gavin Newsom some more. Please don't forget, if you haven't sent an email, please help us get the word to the right people. We've got 71 days until the 180 days we're up. Oh yeah, Tracy. There's the Heidi. Oh, that whole organization too. I haven't done a lot there, like looking into that, but there's some interesting crossover there. Like, I don't know. This just makes me feel gross, all of this, because all of the different connecting pieces, and to see that that piece of shit was on stage this weekend with Alejandro Monteverde, Eduardo Vestigu, whatever their fucking names are, and they promote Jim Caviezel like he's some sort of god. It's not Paul though, right? Paul Hutchinson. Paul's isn't. Let me tell you what Paul's is. It's Hold on. Paul Hutchinson. It's the Child Liberation Foundation in Liberating Humanity. That's Paul Hutchinson's. That's his 501c. It's not Kids USA, but Kids USA is another one that there's some interesting stuff about, from what I've heard. Oh no, Kathy P. I'm so sorry. I hate hearing those. That just, Amber Alerts really are. I mean, it's a great system. I'm glad that they at least have that system, but it's still just, it's another horrifying thing to hear. Hopefully, they will be returned uninjured. We've been seeing too much of that. Okay, y'all. Sorry to hit you with a lot to process. I know this one is heavy and it's 2.5 hours, but I think a lot of people, I hope more people pay attention to this. I really hope people read this lawsuit. This one hasn't gotten any attention yet. This is not, I haven't seen anybody cover this lawsuit yet. Not a single person. And this needs to be covered. The whole premise of O.U.R, what they did to the people to make O.U.R. This is a huge deal. A huge deal. And it's like crickets. And Tim Ballard's out here using people to tell his untold story. Bullshit. Bullshit. I hope you guys all have a wonderful rest of your day. I will see you guys this week. I don't know the game plan yet this week. We've got some more Ballard content that I need to get to because the judge did order that he has to be deposed. This was filed. I need to talk about Catherine and some of her recent allegations. We've got to debunk the Untold Part 1, The Lie Detector by Troy and his dumbass. Troy, I don't know why anybody would be willing to sell themselves down the river with this fool. Kathy's going live at 8:30 tonight. She's had some interesting content lately that is just mind-blowing. Truthfully, like, where the fuck do these people come from? We've got Betty to talk about because she's been making some egregious claims, blaming horrendous murders on Biden, the ignorance. We've got Amethyst's story to talk about. We got Chap Test's story to talk about. We've got so much. I just need to, like I said, clone myself. But we will get through it all. Sooner or later, we will get through it all. So I will see you guys all hopefully tomorrow afternoon. We have to be at a doctor's appointment at 8:00. So, Heidi, I hope that more people, after reading this one, that they honestly, genuinely open their eyes. Yeah, Kathy, that. And then reading this, knowing she promoted, her and Olivia were two of the first on, like, in this arena, besides Annie Elise and her bullshit ass too, promoted the Sound of Freedom. And knowing that now it's just all too much to wrap your head around. It's a lot. But okay, guys, have a great weekend or the rest of your Sunday. I will see you guys this week. Bye.